Chapter 321. Indeed, Zhu did not have a trace of doubt as he muttered to himself. If there is a supreme grade high spirit Dan, I can ask my teacher to come personally. But if there is no high spirit Dan, I will disappoint my teacher. A supreme grade middle spirit Dan is also not bad. Qin Wushuang encouraged. Zhu Yun was overwhelmed with emotions, and the blood in his entire body was boiling. He had to admit that this was a great temptation. He felt that he could take the risk. Even if his teacher did not get a supreme grade high spirit Dan in the end, with so many supreme grade middle spirit Dan, it would be enough to satisfy his teacher's appetite. Zhu Yun repeatedly calculated in his mind and suddenly asked, "Mister, if you have such a big secret, why did you come to the Red Dragon Empire instead of finding someone to cooperate with in your own country? Is there any shady business going on here?" Qin Wushuang laughed. "Master Zhu, if you were me, would you do this in your own country? Firstly, it is not easy to find someone to cooperate with. Secondly, doing this in your own country, it is easy to be dug out. The further away from the Sky Travel Empire, the easier it is to do this." Zhu Yun thought for a moment and felt that Qin Wushuang's words made sense. Then, he drank the wine in his cup and said proudly, "Let's do this." Qin Wushuang cheered and clapped his hands. "Master Zhu is so generous. I will also drink this wine." Zhu Yun said, "I will agree to this first. However, to do this, I will need my teacher's help. At least, it will need my senior brothers of the Upper Sky Realm." Qin Wushuang pretended to be curious. "I only heard from Xiao Chui that your teacher has a high position in the Nine Palace faction, but I don't know who he is." Zhu Yun said proudly, "Of course my teacher has a high position in the Nine Palace faction. Within the capital, even the Emperor has to give face to him. He is the chief steward of the Nine Palace faction in the capital. His surname is Zhang. If you go out and ask about Chief Steward Zhang, even a 3-year-old child would know about him." Qin Wushuang laughed. "So your teacher has such power in the capital. That's great. Even if they took advantage of the chaos to rob this batch of goods, they didn't have to worry about the aftermath. It's as easy as catching a turtle in a jar." Zhu Yun smiled and said, "Of course. As long as my master is willing to step in, there's nothing he can't do in the imperial capital of the Red Dragon Empire." Qin Wushuang flattered. "If that's the case, then it's absolutely foolproof." Then, he said seriously, "Master Zhu, I have something to say first. If this matter succeeds, I won't be missing out on my share of the harvest. I don't want much, but you can't leave me out. I have reinforcements outside the imperial capital. If I don't make it out alive, my companions will announce my plan to the world. At that time, the world will be in an uproar, and everyone will know that the Nine Palace faction stole the goods." Qin Wushuang's move was to retreat in order to advance. He purposely said this to make this matter seem more believable and make Zhu Yun believe him without a doubt. Although Zhu Yun felt that this move was rather despicable, it was understandable. For an outsider to come to the Red Dragon Empire to ask for cooperation, if he didn't have a backup plan, it would be like asking a tiger for its skin. Immediately, he nodded and said, "You can't leave out your share. But as for how much you will get, it will be up to my master. I am here, but I don't dare to promise you. I don't want much. I want 5 supreme grade initial stage pills. I want 2 supreme grade middle stage pills. If there are supreme grade high stage pills, I want one if there are more than 3. If there are less than 3, I won't take any. This kind of distribution won't be too much, right?" Zhu Yun thought for a moment and felt that this request was not too much. Giving him 5 out of dozens of supreme grade initial stage pills was not too much. After all, he did provide the information and deserve the credit. "Okay, let's not delay. I will go back now and ask my master's opinion. However, my master has a bad temper and will not allow me to bring outsiders. Thus, I will have to trouble you to wait for my news here. Or you can go somewhere else and wait for my news. Otherwise, there will be too many spies in this brothel." At this moment, Zhu Yun was very cautious. He knew his master's personality. If he brought a stranger in the middle of the night, it would be strange if he didn't get scolded to death by his master. If things went badly, a beating was not impossible. His master's temper was unpredictable. He had to be careful with this matter. Otherwise, if he didn't succeed and got snubbed, he wouldn't have anywhere to cry. This Zhu Yin was also muddle-headed by the supreme grade spiritual pills and only wanted to do this. After deducing, he felt that this young master Wu had no reason to make fun of him, unless this person was tired of living. Otherwise, making fun of Steward Zhang and his disciple in the imperial capital would definitely belong to the kind of people whose eyes grew in their crotch. Qin Wushuang muttered, "Since that's the case, I will go back first and find an end to rest. Once Master Zhu has news, come and report to me." "How about it?" Zhu Yin was overjoyed. "That would be great. Let's go downstairs together, and I will bring you to an inn." Qin Wushuang smiled. With a turn of his thoughts, he knew that this Zhu Yin was up to no good. If he found an inn for him, it would definitely be one where he had eyes to monitor him. However, he remained calm and collected. "Master Zhu, you should report to your master as soon as possible. This matter should not be delayed and should race against time. Otherwise, when those people pass by, it will be too late for regrets." Zhu Yin shivered and nodded. "Since that's the case, you can check in at the Gaosheng Inn on the street ahead. I will look for you there later. How about it?" "All right, it's a deal." Qin Wushuang smiled and agreed. Zhu Yin stood up, pushed open the door, and was about to walk out. After taking a step, he suddenly turned around. "Young Master Wu, I hope you are not making fun of me on this matter. Otherwise, even if you cannot keep your head, I will also have to suffer some physical pain." Qin Wushuang was incomparably calm. "Unless you delay the timing, there will definitely be no mistakes. My information is 100% accurate." Only then did Zhu Yin relax and walk out quickly. After Zhu Yin had gone downstairs for a moment, Qin Wushuang also went downstairs. Watching Zhu Yun's departing figure from afar, Qin Wushuang followed him like a ghost in the dark night. Inwardly, he thought, "To the ancestors of the Stargaze Palace, please bless me to meet that Zhang Baidang. Please let me complete my mission and complete it. I must enter the dispersed praying mountain as soon as possible." Qin Wushuang was being cautious because he knew that most likely he only had one chance to assassinate this Zhu Yin. Once he missed this chance, he would not be able to get close to Zhang Baidang. Since this Zhang Baidang was the general manager of the imperial capital, for sure, he had many henchmen. If he was alerted, most likely, the entire Nine Palace would be alerted. Thus, he must not make a move recklessly. Before he had the confidence, he would not make a move. Even when he was asking for information, he was extremely careful. He had taken many detours to ensure that he would not act rashly and alert the enemy. Now, he only needed to follow this Zhu Yin all the way to Zhang Baidang's residence. It was equivalent to finding a living map to Zhang Baidang's residence. Or else, even if he were to ask around, most likely ordinary people would not know where Zhang Baidang lived. And if he were to ask around directly, most likely he would be exposed. With this Zhu Yin leading the way, it would be perfect. With Qin Wushuang's strength, it would be easy to follow this Zhu Yin. Activating his body movements, Qin Wushuang's entire body blended into the night like a night elf. Zhu Yin moved quickly. With his strength at the peak of the pre-sky realm, of course, he would not know that an upper sky realm warrior had followed him. Currently, Zhu Yin was still immersed in his yearning for the supreme quality initial stage pills. Inwardly, he thought, "If I can get these supreme quality pills, it would be a great fortune for me. For sure, my teacher's position in the Nine Palace faction would also rise. If my teacher could enter the advanced stage, it would be impossible for him to not be important. This way, Master's line will rise, and I will be able to enter the Nine Palace faction and become an official disciple of the Nine Palace faction. If I am lucky, I will be able to become a core disciple. That would be even better." Thinking here, Zhu Yun sped up his steps. In a moment, he arrived at an alley. Inwardly, Zhu Yun was confused. My teacher is truly cautious. As the general manager of the imperial capital and the butler of the Nine Palace faction, would he be afraid that someone would dare to touch him in the imperial capital? He did not live on those grand and bustling streets, but chose to build a house in this little alley and live in seclusion. At this time, it was already late at night. In the small alley paved with bluestone slabs, there was still a slight tap-tap sound. Zhu Yin did not deliberately suppress his footsteps. He ran all the way and finally stopped in front of a courtyard. Just when he was about to knock on the door, 3 or 4 black figures flashed from both sides and shouted, "Who is it?" "Senior Brother Gua, it's me, Zhu Yin." Zhu Yin immediately opened his mouth. He knew that his teacher had 8 personal disciples, and they were all elite warriors at the Upper Sky Realm. For outside and for inside, it was double insurance. It would not be easy for anyone to pass through this obstacle. "Zhu Yin, what are you doing here in the middle of the night?" one of the Upper Sky disciples asked with a dignified tone. "Senior Brother Gua, please inform him that I, Zhu Yin, have an important piece of information. I must report to my teacher as soon as possible. This matter is extremely urgent and cannot be delayed. Please take the trouble." That dignified voice scolded in a low voice, "Don't speak nonsense. Teacher is already asleep. Regardless of how important the matter is, we will talk about it tomorrow." Zhu Yin said with a long face, "Senior Brother Gua, this matter is extremely urgent. It concerns the future of my teacher and all of you. It even concerns the fate of my teacher's line." Hearing Zhu Yun's serious tone, that Senior Brother Gua could not help but say, "Zhu Yun, are you trying to scare us?" Zhu Yin said in a low voice, "I'm not trying to scare you. Of course, there would not be any harm if we do not report this matter to my teacher. However, we would miss a great opportunity and suffer a great loss. Whether or not all of you can enter the middle stage, and if my teacher can enter the advanced stage, it all depends on this piece of information." Indeed, that Senior Brother Gua was intimidated by him. They knew Zhu Yun's personality. Although he was somewhat flamboyant, he was not someone who would make groundless accusations. If he did not have solid evidence, he would not dare to speak nonsense. After a moment of silence, that Senior Brother Gua said, "Zhu Yin, if you are not speaking nonsense, I will go in and report. If you are lying, my teacher will take responsibility. Later, I will make you suffer." In the dark, Qin Wushuang heard his answer and took a deep breath. He knew that the opportunity was before him. Whether he could kill Zhang Baidang or not, it would all depend on this. Regardless of success or failure, Qin Wushuang knew that his only choice was to retreat immediately. He must not linger in the battle, or else he would most likely fall into the quagmire of the 9 Palace faction. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 322. The moment that Senior Brother Guo went in, Qin Wushuang also followed him in the dark. With his identity as a middle-stage warrior, it was not difficult to avoid the eyes and ears of these people. Plus, with Zhu Yin distracting the attention of others, Qin Wushuang was even more relaxed. In a flash, he followed him in. Step by step, he soon arrived at the inner part of the courtyard. Qin Wushuang was not in a hurry. He knew that with 4 people guarding the outer area, it was impossible that there were no other hidden sentries inside. Indeed, not long after that Senior Brother Gua went in, someone scolded him in the dark. "Who is it?" That Senior Brother Gua immediately said, "Senior Brother Yang, it's me." That kid Zhu Yin came late at night and said that he has important information to report to teacher. That kid said it like it's true and said that this matter is related to the future and fate of teacher's line. I can only come in and report to teacher. In the dark, that Senior Brother Yang thought for a moment. "Okay, you go and bring Zhu Yin in. I will report to teacher." Qin Wushuang was overjoyed. This was a free period. Once he entered the inner area, it would be much easier to kill Zhang Baidang. That Senior Brother would turn around and walked out. And that Senior Brother Yang passed through the corridor and walked straight to the inner courtyard. He stopped in front of an inconspicuous room. Just as he was about to knock on the door, a light shout came from inside. "Yang Li, what are you doing here at this time?" That Senior Brother Yang was called Yang Li. He immediately said, "Teacher, just now Junior Brother came in to report that Junior Brother Zhu Yin has urgent information and needs to tell you face to face. He said that this matter is related to the future and fate of our line and is very important." The voice inside asked eerily, "Zhu Yin? Is he alone or is there someone else?" "Only he is alone. The voice inside was Zhang Baidang, who had defected from the Iron Fan Gate. After a moment of silence, he shouted, "Go out first and wait for me for 15 minutes." Yang Li immediately responded, "Okay." At this time, Qin Wushuang had already rushed into the inner courtyard. The design of this inner courtyard could be said to be very monotonous. There was not even a single plant. Qin Wushuang secretly shivered. This Zhang Baidang was indeed cunning and suspicious. He was afraid that someone would assassinate him. There was not a single blade of grass in the courtyard. Even if an assassin came, there was nowhere to hide. What a good plan. However, Qin Wushuang naturally didn't need the plants to hide. He flashed into a pillar and hid his body in the shadows, completely blending in with the night. If one wasn't standing right in front of him, they definitely wouldn't be able to see him hiding here. Qin Wushuang listened attentively. Immediately his ears turned hot. He cursed inwardly. This Zhang Baidang is really lecherous. Even at this moment, he is still doing the good deed between man and woman. This kind of lecherous and lustful person, indulging in excessive indulgence, really wanted to pursue the supreme realm in the martial way. Today, he deserved to die. Consider it as me seeking justice for the innocent people of the Iron Fan School who died unjustly. At this moment, Zhang Baidang was already in the sprint stage. Qin Wushuang naturally would not listen to his good show on the bed. Instead, he focused his attention on other directions. After a while, Yang Li led two people. One was Senior Brother Hua, the other was Zhu Yun. They stood far away in the corridor with their hands by their sides. They all knew what kind of things their master liked to do. At this moment, they naturally didn't dare to disturb him. Finally, a beast-like roar came out from the room, followed by the sound of moving things. After a while, Zhang Baidang cleared his throat. Yang Li, Guixiu, the two of you guard outside. Don't let random people come close. Zhu Yun, stay behind and answer outside. Zhang Baidang was very careful. He actually didn't even let Zhu Yun enter the door. Qin Wushuang secretly shivered, thinking that this person was indeed careful. It seemed like people who did bad things were still afraid of ghosts knocking on the door in the middle of the night. Yang Li and Guixiu both obediently left the outer area. They walked out of the inner courtyard and patrolled the outer area of the inner courtyard. Qin Wushuang secretly applauded. This way, the two of them wouldn't be able to see the situation in the inner courtyard. It would be convenient for him to do things. This Zhang Baidang was a cunning old fox. He thought that this inner courtyard was absolutely safe and had no place to hide. Thus, he was confident and sent Yang Li and Guixiu away. On the contrary, it gave Qin Wushuang more chances to make a move. Zhu Yun, why did you disturb your master in the middle of the night? Zhang Baidang's voice carried a bit of dignity. His tone was still polite to upper sky disciples, but for peak post-liminary realm disciples like Zhu Yun, he had a bit more dignity. Zhu Yun hurriedly said, "Master, disciple received an important piece of information. It said that one of the 3 Eastern empires ordered a batch of top-quality pills in the Sky Travel Empire. They will pass through our Red Dragon Empire's imperial capital, and the escorts are a few initial-stage martial artists." Top-quality pills? What pills? Zhang Baidang didn't comment. Zhu Yun hurriedly said, "It's a batch of top-quality initial stage and top-quality middle stage pills. It's even possible that there are 1 to 3 top-quality high-stage pills." Top-quality high-stage pills? Zhang Baidang's tone obviously sank. Zhu Yun, where did you get this information? Zhu Yun hurriedly recounted his experience at the Floating Fragrance Inn. After Zhang Baidang heard this, he didn't curse out loud, but only sneered. "You believe a random person who ran out? Master, that person is willing to use his head to guarantee his information. Only then did disciple feel that it was somewhat reliable, so I came to ask for instruction from Master. As for how to decide, I still need Master to personally make the decision." Zhu Yun was very good at pretending to be obedient. Disciple is just afraid that if this matter is true and misses such a great opportunity, I, as a disciple, would be too sorry for Master. Zhang Baidang said indifferently, "It's good that you have such thoughts, but I don't believe that a pie will really fall from the sky. Master, As for the specifics, you can send a pre-celestial stage senior brother tomorrow to personally test that kid surnamed Wu. Zhang Baidang muttered to himself for a moment, obviously considering the authenticity of this matter. He was an extremely cautious person. No matter what, he had to consider whether or not it was a trap set up for him by the Iron Fan sect. In this matter, no matter how he looked at it, sounded like a trap. It's just that this trap was dug a little strange. Zhang Baidang sneered in his heart. If they really set up a trap for me to fall into, can they be 100% sure that I will personally go and intercept this batch of goods? Thinking about it this way, he felt that this didn't seem like a trap. Zhu Yin stood outside the door and carefully served, but he didn't dare to complain or be dissatisfied. For Master to consider this matter, it meant that he attached enough importance to it. He didn't make a sound and just stood there with his hands by his side. Suddenly, Zhu Yun's body went soft, as if a certain acupuncture point on his body had been struck by lightning. He immediately lost consciousness, and before he could even shout, he went limp. Qin Wushuang's speed was extremely fast. He took off Zhu Yun's coat and put it on him. Then, he threw Zhu Yun into the storage bag. The entire action was very coherent and smooth, like flowing water. It was completed in the blink of an eye, and there were no flaws at all. After a moment, Zhang Baidang opened his mouth. Zhu Yun, you will stay here tonight. Tomorrow morning, I will let Yang Li accompany you. If that person is not suspicious, then let Yang Li bring him to see me. At this moment, Qin Wushuang had already taken out the graceful spiritual bow. He casually responded, shook his arm, and lightly opened the door latch. His figure scuttled and entered the house. Zhang Baidang had never thought that Zhu Yun would be so daring and dare to sneak in. With a glance, he felt that something was wrong and shouted, Zhu Yun, what do you want to do? Qin Wushuang looked carefully. He had already locked onto Zhang Baidang's position, and he almost vomited. That Zhang Baidang had one hand pressed on a naked girl's body and was absorbing the yin qi, and that girl's body was shriveled like a frosted eggplant. There was no sign of life. It was obvious that she had been dead for a long time. This Zhang Baidang, other than taking yin to supplement yang, he had also sucked the essence of this girl's body. Zhang Baidang reacted in the first moment. He casually flung the girl's body towards Qin Wushuang. His body scuttled, and he was about to dash out of the window. Qin Wushuang sneered, his arm shot out, and the graceful spiritual bow shot out a ray of bright green energy, carrying an indestructible aura and a life-threatening anger. The light opened a path and directly tore the girl's body into pieces. The speed of the arrow was still very fast. Like a shooting star in the dark night, it shot towards Zhang Baidang's back. Zhang Baidang knew that he was in danger. A talisman script suddenly lit up on his body, emitting a red-colored energy, protecting the vital parts of his body. However, his body continued to rush forward. However, Qin Wushuang's string of arrows was faster than his reaction. With a whoosh, the arrows shot out. 2 arrows were shot at the same time. As if they were breaking a hard armor, they completely broke open the fiery red energy. Qin Wushuang's speed was very fast. The snake-shaped soft whip followed closely and wrapped around Zhang Baidang's neck. The power of Dark North was activated, and without any mercy, it began to plunder the abundant spirit energy in Zhang Baidang's body. Qin Wushuang went all out, and in Zhang Baidang's desperate expression, he mercilessly pulled out all the spirit energy in his body, not leaving a single drop behind. Zhang Baidang had never dreamed that he would, on a night like this, just finish absorbing a girl's essence, and then have his spirit energy sucked dry by someone else. And Yang Li and Guixiu, who were outside, had obviously heard Zhang Baidang scolding and hurried over. Outside the corridor, they anxiously asked, Master, what happened? Qin Wushuang lowered his voice and imitated Zhang Baidang's tone. You two come in. Yang Li and Guixiu did not hesitate at all, and both rushed in. As soon as they entered, the shadow of the whip flashed in front of their eyes, and 2 powerful binding forces very cleverly wrapped the 2 people inside, tightly trapping them. Qin Wushuang's appetite was greatly aroused, 2 rays of the power of the dark north came out and did the same thing. After 15 minutes, Qin Wushuang opened his eyes widely. From his eyes, a trace of coldness emerged. He casually tossed the 3 corpses into his storage bag, then dashed out of the window on the other side. Using the dark night, he quickly left the scene while avoiding the eyes and ears of other people. Success! Inwardly, Qin Wushuang could not suppress his excitement. This time, almost all the steps to kill Zhang Baidang were within his calculations. In the end, he had successfully retreated and did not encounter any resistance. Of course, Qin Wushuang was overjoyed. It meant that he was 1 step closer to the dispersed praying mountain. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 323. He must leave the Red Dragon Empire as soon as possible. Perhaps Zhang Baidang's death would only be discovered by his disciples in the morning. Then, he would report it to the 9 Palace faction. It would take at least half a day for the pursuers to arrive. To be safe, Qin Wushuang activated the Wind Walk Talisman after he jumped out of the city gate. Indeed, this Wind Walk Talisman was miraculous. As soon as he activated it, wind appeared under Qin Wushuang's feet. Immediately, his speed increased by a few times. As if he was flying, he left in the opposite direction of the imperial capital. The Wind Walk Talisman could only be used 3 times. It could help him travel 10,000 miles in a day. After a day of running, the first effect of the Wind Walk Talisman gradually came to an end. Qin Wushuang had also left the border of the Red Dragon Empire and entered the territory of the 9 Raven Empire. Qin Wushuang did not stop. He found a towering mountain and walked deep into it. He found a secluded area and let the white sable out. He asked it to patrol within 3 miles and immediately alert him if there were any abnormal movements. To Qin Wushuang, absorbing the spiritual qi of Zhang Baidang and his 2 disciples was like a big meal. The spiritual qi of the 3 added together was almost the same as when he absorbed the mutated spiritual roots of Devil Boy. Thus, Qin Wushuang needed a few days to digest it and merge it into his dantian. Qin Wushuang's dantian was like an endless ocean. Regardless of how much water poured into it, his dantian could still digest it completely and merge it gradually. After all, this Zhang Baidang did not have the mutated spiritual roots or the natural spiritual roots. Although he had a lot of spiritual qi, it was not hard to digest. As for Yangling Guixiu, it was much easier than Zhang Baidang. Despite this case, this merging process had taken Qin Wushuang almost 3 days. Of course, to Qin Wushuang, these 3 days were equivalent to 3 years of work for an ordinary person. It had allowed him to take another step forward on the path of the middle stage. Qin Wushuang slowly exhaled and expelled the last of the murky air. Inwardly, he was also excited. This trip to the Red Dragon Empire had been very smooth. From start to finish, it took less than 2 months. Thus, the mission was accomplished. This way, he could invest most of his time into the trip to the dispersed praying mountain. The most gratifying thing was that he had absorbed the spiritual energy of Zhang Baidang and his disciple. To him, it was a great improvement. This allowed him to take another shortcut on the path of cultivation. When Qin Wushuang used the power of the deep north, he did not feel guilty about it, nor did he think that it was some unorthodox method. He had always believed in the principle that there was no superiority in moves, but there was a difference in realms. There was no such thing as a gentleman or a villain in a cultivation technique. It all depended on who was using it. In the hands of an evil person, no matter how great and righteous the technique was, it would still be an evil technique. In the hands of a righteous person, the evil technique would still be able to shine. Qin Wushuang was not without principles. He would never use the deep north magic on innocent people, but he would not show any mercy to evil people. After turning over Zhang Baidang's body, Qin Wushuang searched for a moment. This Zhang Baidang did have some good stuff. Beside the short knife at the advanced stage, This Zhang Baidang had a secret underground technique. Underground technique? As soon as Qin Wushuang thought about it, he instantly became interested. Without any trace of politeness, he tucked the secret manual into his bosom and kept it as his own. Besides these two goods, Qin Wushuang was not interested in the other raw materials. He looked at them casually and threw them into his storage bag. He looked at Yang Li and Guoxiu again and found that they did not have anything valuable. They only had 2 different upper sky initial stage weapons and 2 pieces of armor that were of good quality. Qin Wushuang had no use for them. However, it would be nice to use them as a favor. Qin Wushuang had always been interested in the underground technique of Devil Boy and the gray-robed Elder Chun from the Green Jade Mountain. He did not expect that this time he would get a secret underground technique. After he had finished plundering, Qin Wushuang took care of Zhang Baidang's 3 disciples, Yang Li, Guoxiu, and Zhu Yin on the spot. Then, he destroyed the corpses and left no traces behind. As for Zhang Baidang's body, he had to bring it back to the 9 Raven Empire. Qin Wushuang called back the White Sable and walked out of the deep mountains. He did not use the wind-walking talisman anymore. Instead, he walked towards the capital city of the 9 Raven Empire. Because of Zhang Baidang's death, a great commotion was created in the Red Dragon Empire. When the elite warriors of the 9 Palace faction came to Zhang Baidang's residence in the capital city, they did not find any other clues besides a broken female corpse that had been sucked dry. When Qin Wushuang left, he was very careful and did not leave any clues behind. Plus, a long time had passed, and all the clues were cut off. No matter how hard they searched, there was no news. Although Zhang Baidang was not a core member of the 9 Palace faction, the 9 Palace faction felt that they had lost face after someone had killed his way into their territory and taken him away quietly. The head of the 9 Palace faction, Zhuo Tianxi, ordered a strict investigation, but there were still no clues. The brothel girls at the floating fragrance house were more obedient than anyone else. Ever since they knew that something had happened to Zhu Yun, they kept their mouths shut and did not say anything. Otherwise, if the 9 Palace faction found out that Zhu Yun-sung had a meeting with a strange man at the Wafting Fragrance Pavilion, and the Wafting Fragrance Pavilion was the middleman, then the entire Wafting Fragrance Pavilion would be destroyed in an instant, and everyone would turn into bones. Zhuo Tianxi was also very depressed in the recent months. The news brought by the Archaic Mysteries sect did not bring any substantial benefits to the 9 Palace faction. Instead, it injured Zhao Heng's Dantian. Although Zhao Heng's injuries were much better than Tan Zhongqi's, in the end, his Dantian was damaged. Without the spiritual infant fruit to heal his Dantian, in the long run, his strength would be damaged. In total, there were 3 perfect stage warriors in the 9 Palace faction. If one of them was injured, the entire 9 Palace faction would be affected. Most likely, the other 2 upper-ranking empires would take advantage of the situation. Endless Eastern Sea. For the first time, Zhuo Tianxi was filled with expectation towards these 4 words. He also knew that if the 9 Palace faction wanted to use this opportunity to break through and increase their strength, the Endless Eastern Sea should be the most convenient and the most feasible place to go. Since he had already formed a grudge with the Stargaze Palace, he could not give up halfway. Zhuo Tianxi decided that when the time was ripe, he would immediately move to the east. Even if he had to pay some price, he must defeat the Stargaze Palace and the Dragon and Tiger sect. From there, he would establish the authority of the 9 Palace faction in the 3 Eastern empires. Once the 9 Palace faction had gained a foothold in the east, the territory of the Red Dragon Empire would expand greatly. Regardless of advancing or retreating, they would have a lot of room to maneuver. Of course, all of this was part of the plan. Zhuo Tianxi was not Zhao Hong. Of course, he knew how to seize the opportunity and wait for it. On the other hand, when Qin Wushuang returned to the imperial capital of the 9 Raven Empire, he immediately went to the Iron Fan Gate. In fact, after Qin Wushuang had left, Xiao Bailong did not hold much hope. He did not even think that Qin Wushuang would return alive. After all, in the past, many people had tried to assassinate Zhang Baidang. In the end, they had all failed. When Qin Wushuang appeared before Xiao Bailong, at first, Xiao Bailong was stunned. Then he smiled bitterly. Mister, why are you back? Then, as if he was comforting him, however, it's understandable that you gave up on this mission. I don't blame you. It's too difficult for you to kill that Zhang Baidang in the territory of the Nine Palace faction. Although the mission is tempting, your life is more important. Qin Wushuang said lightly, Head Xiao, why don't you think I succeeded? Xiao Bailong opened his eyes widely and shook his head with a bitter smile. You've only been there for 2 months and you succeeded? Don't joke around. In 2 months, it's already very good that you could find out where Zhang Baidang lived. Qin Wushuang did not waste words and directly took out Zhang Baidang's corpse from his storage bag. Xiao Bailong looked at it and was instantly stunned. Then, the hatred and anger in his eyes were ignited like dry wood. His eyes instantly turned red. He suddenly pulled out his blade and slashed Zhang Baidang's corpse a dozen times. Ha ha ha! Xiao Bailong laughed loudly with tears in his eyes. Traitor, you traitor! This day has finally come. Xiao Bailong continued to roar with a trace of madness. 10 years. I've waited for this day for 10 years. Finally, I've seen you get your retribution. Shuangyun, you can rest in peace now. Saying this, Xiao Bailong's tears flowed down as he cried loudly on the ground. 10 years had passed since his sect was destroyed. Only now did he release all the grief in his heart. Although Qin Wushuang was a bystander, he could empathize with Xiao Bailong's pain of mourning for his family. After a long while, Xiao Bailong finally stopped. He wiped his red eyes and said to Qin Wushuang apologetically, Mister, I was too rude. I made a fool of myself in front of you. No need to be so polite, sect leader Xiao. The greatest pain in the world is mourning for one's family. I can understand. Xiao Bailong's impression of Qin Wushuang instantly improved. He squeezed out a smile. All right, the mission is complete. I will follow you to the Nine Raven Temple's branch to cancel the mission reward and prove it to you. Thank you, sect leader Xiao. It's me who has troubled you. You don't know how grateful I am right now. Xiao Bailong choked. Sect leader Xiao, if you don't want to cause trouble, you should deal with Zhang Baidang's corpse in a low-key manner. Otherwise, when the Nine Palace faction hears about this, it would be inconvenient for them to take revenge on you. Qin Wushuang kindly reminded him. Xiao Bailong was startled and then nodded gratefully. Yes, I was a bit confused. Then, he hid Zhang Baidang's corpse and followed Qin Wushuang to the Nine Raven Temple's branch. Just when they arrived at the entrance of the Nine Raven Temple, Qin Wushuang did not know if it was a coincidence or not, but he saw the young man who had left with Zhu Dazhong that day. He was walking out of the branch with a happy smile on his face. Why don't I see Zhu Dazhong? Qin Wushuang was slightly surprised. He knew that since this young man's surname was Zhao and he came from the Nine Palace faction, he must be related to Zhao Hong. Thinking about this, Qin Wushuang became even more daring. P.S. I originally planned to write 3 chapters today, but I wrote the wrong chapter number in the previous chapter. This caused Old Ox's mathematics level to be severely despised again. Therefore, Old Ox decided to stick to 4 chapters, so that everyone can read one more chapter on Christmas Eve. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 324. When that young master Zhao walked out of the door, he shot a glance at Qin Wushuang and Xiao Bailong. However, he did not pay too much attention and only walked towards the door. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang paid attention and glanced at the direction of this young master Zhao. Xiao Bailong asked in a low voice, Mister, do you know this person? Qin Wushuang said with a smile, Head Xiao, don't make it public. This person is a disciple of the Nine Palace faction. Xiao Bailong's heart skipped a beat. Immediately, he did not speak anymore and walked in with Qin Wushuang. That elder in charge of receiving them was also somewhat surprised when he saw Xiao Bailong and Qin Wushuang walking in together. Head Xiao. Elder Gao, let's talk somewhere else. Xiao Bailong said in a low voice. That elder Gao understood tacitly and nodded. Come with me. When they arrived at that secret room, Elder Gao said with a smile, Head Xiao, from your expression, there should be some good news. Could it be, this mister has already finished your mission? Xiao Bailong said with a choked voice, That's right. Elder Gao, since this mister has finished this mission, I, Xiao Bailong, am here to testify and finish the mission. I will pay the remaining commission fee in 3 days. That Elder Gao said leisurely, Good, good. Indeed, you are young and promising. Head Xiao, I'm also happy for you. Today, 10 years of hatred will be settled. Let's look forward. Xiao Bailong said respectfully, Thank you for your guidance. Now that I've got my revenge, I am happy. Elder Gao laughed and said to Qin Wushuang, Young man, you are good. Please come with me to receive the reward you need. This Elder Gao was very professional, as he did not tell Qin Wushuang what the reward was. After Xiao Bailong had finished testifying, he asked to leave. When he arrived at another secret room, that Elder Gao took out a glittering plate and said to Qin Wushuang, This is my 9 Raven National Scholar plate. Please take it. With this plate, you don't need any qualifications to enter. Each year, the dispersed praying mountain will open 4 times. As long as you like, you can enter every time. Qin Wushuang took it, still feeling a little confused. Could he really obtain the 9 Raven National Scholar token? The 9 Raven Empire was as open-minded and tolerant as the rumors said. What? Do you have any questions? Elder Gao asked with a smile. I was thinking that the 9 Raven National Scholar token can be given to foreign cultivators. Rumor has it that the 9 Raven Empire is very tolerant. The rumor is true. Qin Wushuang sighed. Elder Gao said with a smile, This is indeed one of the characteristics of our 9 Raven Empire. As long as you are willing to contribute to the 9 Raven Empire and make enough contribution points, you are qualified. Of course, the 9 Raven National Scholar token you have obtained is different from the 9 Raven National Scholar token of our own people. However, the difference in appearance does not affect the same function. Qin Wushuang somewhat understood. The 2 kinds of state scholar medallions were different, so he could easily distinguish between them. This way, even if foreign cultivators were to obtain the 9 Raven National Scholar token, they would only obtain some kind of qualification. It did not mean that they were people of the 9 Raven Empire. At this moment, Qin Wushuang suddenly understood why among all the empires in the human countries, the 9 Raven Empire was the most powerful. Everything was not without reason. Okay, young man, take this token and wait at the border of the dispersed praying mountain. The summer open day is about to arrive. Good luck. At the same time, please remember that with this 9 Raven National Scholar token in your hands, you must not use it to do anything that will harm the interests and dignity of the 9 Raven Empire. Or else, this National Scholar token will turn from a good thing to a bad thing. Ha ha ha. Qin Wushuang said, Of course. After he walked out of the main palace of the 9 Raven Temple, Qin Wushuang quickly followed the direction that young Master Zhao had left. As he walked forward, it was a bustling and lively street. Qin Wushuang followed for a moment and did not find the figure of that young Master Zhao. Just when he felt somewhat regretful, suddenly, a bang sound came from the side. A ball of white shadow shot out like a cannonball and fell towards Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang fixed his gaze and saw that it was a drunk man who had been kicked out. The speed was extremely fast. If he had fallen to the ground, most likely his brain would have spilled out. Instantly, he pulled with his hand, and a gentle power caught that white shadow. Using the method of 4 ounces to lift 1,000 pounds, he put that person on the ground. Unexpectedly, before that drunk man could stand firmly, he fell down weakly. He held the bottle of alcohol tightly and mumbled, "Give me alcohol. Why don't you give me alcohol? I have plenty of money." Qin Wushuang shook his head helplessly. He had seen a lot of drunkards like him in his previous life. Just when he was about to leave, a group of servants rushed out from the pub like wolves and tigers. They rushed towards that young man and were about to stomp on him. Qin Wushuang frowned. If this group of wolves and tigers stomped a few times, it would be strange if this young man did not die. He said calmly, "You guys, why won't you even let drunkard go?" Those servants were complaining that they could not find someone to vent their anger on. Hearing Qin Wushuang's question, a one-eyed servant in front of him sneered, "What kind of person are you? Do you know where this place is?" Qin Wushuang said calmly, "This is the capital of the Nine Raven Empire." "Then do you know which family we work for? You dare to meddle in other people's business?" Qin Wushuang glanced at that drunkard. "If you want to hit him, then hit him. Just now, when he bumped into me, if I didn't know a thing or two and caught him, if it was someone else, even if they did not die, they would have broken a few bones." "Oh, so you think you know a thing or two, so you want to meddle in other people's business even more?" Qin Wushuang naturally did not want to talk nonsense with these people. He sneered, "I don't have time to talk nonsense with you." He picked up the drunkard and was about to walk away. The servants exchanged glances and rushed towards Qin Wushuang together. Qin Wushuang did not look back as if he had eyes on the back of his head. He suddenly activated his innate qi. Protective Dipper Qi immediately shot out and shook the four slaves a few feet away. At this moment, two figures flew out of the tavern and shouted, "Sir, stop." These two figures were of the innate realm. Qin Wushuang's heart skipped a beat. He turned around. "What can I do for you? Please put down the person in your hands, and we will not pursue what happened just now." One of them said coldly, "Give me a reason to put him down." Qin Wushuang said calmly, "We don't need a reason, because this person is our Prince Fei's enemy. Our prince's enemy will not allow anyone to protect him." The man's tone was overbearing. "Prince Fei?" Qin Wushuang laughed secretly. The Nine Raven Empire was indeed an upper-rank empire. Even a prince was accompanied by two innate realm bodyguards. However, Qin Wushuang was deeply unhappy with their attitude. They almost bumped into him, but not only did they not say anything polite, they were also so overbearing. Although Qin Wushuang did not want to cause unnecessary trouble, he would not be afraid if trouble came to him. He slowly shook his head. "I don't care about the grudges between you and this person, but you almost bumped into me. If you don't even give me an explanation, it won't be easy for you to get him back." The two innate realm bodyguards' faces changed. The one who had been silent all this time shouted, "You are courting death." The two of them drew their weapons and were about to attack Qin Wushuang. At this moment, a figure walked out from the opposite side of the street. Seeing this scene, he hurriedly shouted, "Wait." That person walked over quickly and asked the two bodyguards of Duke Fei, "Gentlemen, what are you doing here?" This person was Xiao Bailong, who had just left the Nine Raven Temple branch. The restaurant across the street was the property of the Iron Fan clan. He was raising funds there and was preparing to hand over the remaining funds to the Nine Raven Temple. Seeing this conflict, he hurriedly walked out. "Sovereign Xiao." The two bodyguards saw Xiao Bailong and immediately softened their tone. They said fawningly, "Sovereign Xiao, this guy is quite bold. He even dares to offend the prince." Xiao Bailong's face turned cold and said indifferently, "I think you are even more bold." These words left the two people scratching their heads. They stuttered, "Sect leader Xiao, what do you mean? Does your prince have a Nine Raven national scholar token?" Xiao Bailong asked indifferently. The two bodyguards were stunned and then shook their heads. "Our prince does not have such treatment." Xiao Bailong sneered. "Then this gentleman has the Nine Raven National Scholar Token personally issued by the Nine Raven Temple. I wonder if your prince can afford to offend him?" The two bodyguards trembled. What kind of joke was this Nine Raven National Scholar Token? Those who had this thing were all dragons among men and could do whatever they wanted in the secular world. Even if their prince had a high position and power, he was still a powerful official in the secular world. Compared to those national scholars who had high positions, he was nothing. These two looked at Qin Wushuang with an apologetic expression and bowed. "Us two brothers had eyes, but could not see. Please forgive us." Qin Wushuang sneered but said, "Since Sovereign Xiao is mediating, let's drop this matter. What kind of enmity does this drunkard have with your prince? Why do you have to take his life?" The two bodyguards were embarrassed and did not know how to answer. Xiao Bailong glanced at the man and asked curiously, "Isn't this the kid from the Xiao clan?" The drunkard was obviously drunk. He grinned at Xiao Bailong, but did not speak. Xiao Bailong sighed. "Mister, Do me the honor and come to my restaurant." Qin Wushuang agreed. Suddenly, he felt that someone was looking at them from the third floor of the restaurant that Xiao Bailong pointed at. Qin Wushuang looked up and saw a figure quickly disappear. The curtains closed, and he did not show his face again. Qin Wushuang felt strange, but did not say anything. He followed Xiao Bailong in. The young drunkard didn't hesitate and followed him in. When he heard that there was wine, his spirits were lifted. As they approached the restaurant, Xiao Bailong was instructing his subordinates to arrange a banquet. Suddenly, an arrogant voice came from the door. "Prepare a table of good wine and dishes for me. Be quick." When Qin Wushuang heard this voice, he was delighted. He had searched far and wide in vain. Wasn't that young Master Zhao? To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.qitian.com. Support the author, support the original reading. Chapter 325. Qin Wushuang maintained his composure and followed Xiao Bailong upstairs. Since young Master Zhao was here, things would be easier. Qin Wushuang gradually had an idea. However, in Xiao Bailong's restaurant, he did not plan to make a move. The third floor of the restaurant was a side room. In one of the side rooms, a servant girl with two small braids smiled and said, "Miss, why are you blushing?" The miss she was talking about was sitting by the bed and explained, "Am I blushing?" The servant girl smiled and said, "You're still denying it. Look, look." The servant girl carried a bronze mirror and walked towards a miss. The miss hurriedly waved her hand. "Xiao Zhu, I don't want to look." "Hee hee, then you admit that you're blushing." The miss gently touched her cheeks, but did not make a sound, as if she was thinking about the scene just now. She had to admit that when a young man looked up, her heart did beat fast. That feeling was as if it was fated to look back. It actually made her heart skip a beat. She was just bored and leaned against the window to look at the street. It was only when a person shot out of the restaurant opposite with a bang that she looked over. Thus, she saw the entire conflict below. At first, she did not think much of it. Although Qin Wushuang's move was brilliant, she did not praise it too much. Later on, when Qin Wushuang faced the threat, he was calm and composed. This made her feel that this young man was not like the average young man. This young man didn't have the kind of timidity that was afraid of trouble, nor did he have the kind of arrogance that was overbearing. However, it was his calm demeanor that made the young lady feel that this demeanor was not an act, but an innate grandmaster's demeanor. The servant girl, Xiao Zhu, had always served this miss. Thus, she was less restrained by the hierarchy and more intimate like a sister. Seeing the miss sitting there in a daze, she could not help but ask, "Miss, what are you thinking about?" The miss smiled. "Xiao Zhu, you're getting more and more gossipy. Why don't you guess what I'm thinking about?" The servant girl tilted her head and thought for a moment. She smiled and said, "Are you thinking about what you saw downstairs?" "Miss, what did you see? Isn't he a handsome guy?" "Whether he is handsome or not, I really didn't look carefully. However, that young man is quite handsome. Xiao Zhu, it's been 2 to 3 years since we left home and traveled to various countries. This is the first time I've seen such a young man." The corner of Xiao Zhu's mouth revealed a trace of an ambiguous smile. Miss, you can't be tempted by him, right? That's not like you. Our miss of the Murong family is like ice and snow. It's not that easy to melt." The young lady's surname was Murong, and she smiled faintly. "Xiao Zhu, you're the only one who knows how to gossip. You're able to decipher 10% of my words." Xiao Zhu chuckled lightly, like a delicate branch trembling. "Miss, to be honest, I think that young Master Luo is not bad. Why do you hate him so much? Now that you've run away from the marriage, the pressure on the Murong family will be huge. Xiao Zhu, if you mention young Master Luo again, I won't bother with you anymore." Xiao Zhu smiled apologetically. All right. Miss, it's Xiao Zhu's fault. Please don't ignore me. Otherwise, I'll be bored to death." "That's right, miss. It's not a good idea for us to walk around aimlessly like this. That's better than going back and marrying that young Master Luo," the young lady said. Xiao Zhu sighed. "Miss, no matter when you go back, you don't have to be afraid. Xiao Zhu is worried that the master will beat me to death when I return." "Why would he beat you to death? It's not like you wanted to run away." I'm the one who kidnapped you and ran away. Xiao Zhu felt wronged and said, That's what he said, but you're the master's daughter. How could he bear to beat you? If he wants to vent his anger, then it's naturally me, this little maid, who's unlucky. Look at your little thoughts. Do you think my father is such a narrow-minded person? Besides, if he dares to beat you to death, I'll die with you. I guarantee that he won't beat you for even half a second. Xiao Zhu smiled through her tears. Miss, you're really good. Xiao Zhu is willing to serve you for the rest of my life. The young lady laughed and said, Snotty cat, you're really shameless. Xiao Zhu sighed softly and said, Miss, do you want to play the zither? The young lady said, All right, I'll play a song. In the private room, Xiao Bailong was toasting Qin Wushuang. He was in a very good mood today. The depression that had accumulated in his heart for many years could finally be vented. Naturally, he was very grateful to Qin Wushuang. As for the drunkard, at this moment, he was very clear. He did not speak and only held a pot of wine. He continuously filled his cup and drank it all. Qin Wushuang looked at the young drunkard with interest. He could not help but be curious. Sect leader Xiao, you said that this young man's surname is Xiao? What is his identity? How did he offend the prince? Xiao Bailong smiled bitterly. Sir, this is nothing more than the result of the fight between the rich and powerful. There's nothing new about it. This Xiao family used to be powerful officials. They did not agree with the prince's political views. The two families fought for decades. In the end, the Xiao family was destroyed. The family declined, the old died, and the monkeys scattered when the tree fell. Only this young man was left. He disappeared for many years. I don't know how he appeared in the imperial capital recently. Since he has appeared, Prince Fei will naturally not let him go. Qin Wushuang nodded and did not ask anymore. Instead, he asked, This young man, what is his name? Xiao Bailong smiled bitterly. How would he know the name of a young man from a declining family? The drunkard suddenly said, Call me Xiao Guan. Xiao Guan. Qin Wushuang frowned. You're the only one left in the Xiao family. Suddenly, Xiao Guan's eyes became extremely clear. His previous drowsy look had disappeared as he looked at Qin Wushuang carefully. Suddenly, he started to sob. For so many years, he had been wandering everywhere. No one had asked him such considerate questions. They did not even look at him. Xiao Bailong sighed. Sir, this Xiao family is also pitiful. If you have the means, you can take this child out of the imperial capital. If he stays here, sooner or later, he will be played to death by Prince Fei's subordinates. Although Xiao Bailong had some status in the imperial capital, it was unlikely that he would take Xiao Guan in. It was even more impossible for him to participate in the boring political struggles of the secular world. Although Xiao Guan had been drinking and appeared to be drunk, he had been paying attention to Xiao Bailong and Qin Wushuang. Seeing Xiao Bailong so respectful to this person, he knew that this person's status was very high. He suddenly stood up, knelt on one knee, and prostrated himself in front of Qin Wushuang. Sir, please take Xiao Guan in. I will be at your beck and call, and serve you comfortably. Qin Wushuang asked, What do you know? Playing with swords and spears, playing with words and ink, calculating accounts, inside and outside, there is nothing I can't do. Xiao Guan's tone was full of confidence, completely sweeping away his previous image of a drunkard. His eyes were as clear as water and very sincere. When Qin Wushuang looked at people, he could see through most of them just by looking at their eyes. This Xiao Guan's eyes were clear, clearly a young man who had not experienced much of the world. He was pure and sincere, making people feel close to him. Get up first. I have urgent matters to attend to. Even if I take you in, I can't take you there. Xiao Bailong smiled. Sir, if you want to take this Xiao family's child in, I can help you take care of him temporarily. I can do it. Haha, since sect leader Xiao said so, if I don't take him in, I will be unreasonable. Good, Xiao Guan, you will temporarily live in Iron Fan Gate. After I finish my business, I will come find you. It will be a few months at the fastest, and no more than 3 years at the slowest. How about it? Xiao Guan was overjoyed and swore, Xiao Guan is willing to follow Sir, in life and death. If I go back on my words today, let me die with 10,000 arrows piercing my heart. Qin Wushuang also really liked this young man. He waved his hand and was about to speak when he suddenly paused, because he heard the sound of a zither. This zither sound was faintly discernible, ethereal and quiet. It was just a faint zither sound, but it seemed to grab people's heartstrings all of a sudden, making people want to know who it was. Qin Wushuang pricked up his ears to listen. His facial expression also changed along with the ethereal zither sound. It was not until the song ended that he absent-mindedly came back to his senses. There was still a lingering feeling in his ears, like weeping and complaining. It was as elegant as the mountains and flowing water, as simple as the ancient pine trees, and as cold as the ice and snow. There was a hint of heavenly elegance, and less of the mortal world's atmosphere. Sect Leader Xiao, I really didn't expect that your restaurant would have such a rare zither sound. It is really like the sound of nature. Qin Wushuang sighed after a long time. Xiao Bailong was startled at first, but then he thought of something and smiled bitterly. This zither sound is not played by my restaurant's people. It seems to be played by 2 foreign women who have been staying here for a few days. There are 3 to 5 performances every day, but few people pay attention to it. I didn't expect you to know this melody. Qin Wushuang sighed. This song should only be played by the heavens. How many times can one hear it in the mortal world? When Qin Wushuang said this, the young lady who was playing the zither upstairs suddenly blushed. Her heart thumped, and her heart trembled. The servant girl Xiao Zhu was completely puzzled this time. Miss, why are you blushing again? The young lady murmured. Xiao Zhu, go downstairs and book a private room. I want to treat someone to a drink. Who? Xiao Zhu asked in astonishment. Miss, do you know someone here? The young lady shook her head. Just go. Xiao Zhu listened to the young lady's words. Although she was mumbling, she walked downstairs. She didn't know that her young lady's divine sense covered the entire restaurant when the song ended. Intentionally or unintentionally, it locked on a Qin Wushuang's private room downstairs. She just happened to hear Qin Wushuang's comment. This song should only be played by the heavens. How many times can one hear it in the mortal world? These words were like an iron hammer that fell from the heavens, fiercely knocking on the solid ice that had been frozen for thousands of years. This feeling made the young lady's heart beat faster. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 326. Xiao Bailong said to Qin Wushuang, Mister, if you don't mind, you can stay here for a few days. I will bear all the expenses. How about that? Qin Wushuang paid attention to Mr. Zhao and replied, If I want to stay, I will inform Sect Leader Xiao. How about that? Xiao Guan, you can follow Sect Leader Xiao back to Iron Fan Sect. Xiao Guan respectfully replied, All right, Xiao Guan will wait for Mister's return every day. He watched Xiao Bailong leave with Xiao Guan. Just when Qin Wushuang was about to go upstairs, suddenly, a little maid walked over. She was dressed in light green clothing and carried a trace of smile on the corner of her mouth. Mister, excuse me. Qin Wushuang was taken aback and smiled. Miss, what can I do for you? This servant girl was Xiao Zhu. She tilted her head and looked at Qin Wushuang. Her 2 pigtails swayed, and she had a smile on her face, making her look very amiable. I'm just a servant girl. How would I dare to give you any advice? My master is hosting a banquet on the 2nd floor and would like to invite you to chat and pass the time. Qin Wushuang saw that this servant girl was not ordinary and did not dare to belittle her. He said, The master of this place has invited me to a banquet, but since your master has invited me, it would be impolite to refuse. Miss, please lead the way. Xiao Zhu smiled and thought that this young master was not pretentious. She waved her hand. Please follow me. On the 2nd floor, there was a private room by the window. Xiao Zhu walked to the door and smiled at Qin Wushuang. Mister, please enter. Qin Wushuang pushed the door open and entered. He saw a young girl dressed in light yellow clothes leaning against the window. She seemed to be thinking about something. Her expression was focused, and her figure was graceful like a goddess. She seemed to have a sense of transcendence. If not for the fact that they were in the middle of a disturbance, Qin Wushuang would have thought that this girl came from the heavens. Seeing that Qin Wushuang was slightly stunned, Xiao Zhu smiled and said, "Miss, the guest you wanted Xiao Zhu to invite is here. Why are you in a daze?" The young lady came back to her senses. Just a moment ago, she saw Xiao Bailong and Xiao Guan walking out of the window. She was thinking about something. When she came back to her senses, she smiled and said, "Sir, I took the liberty to invite you. Please don't laugh at me." Qin Wushuang did not know the inside story, but did not put on an act, saying, "Young miss, you don't have to be so polite, but I didn't think that there would be such an elegant person like young miss in the chaos of the Nine Raven Empire. Earlier, I heard the sound of a zither faintly coming from upstairs. It was quite refined. At first glance, Miss seemed to be in perfect harmony with the zither music. I wonder if that strand of zither music was played by Miss?" Lady Murong smiled faintly. Before she could reply, Xiao Zhu, who was standing at the side, chuckled, "Miss, this mister is indeed extraordinary." Just by listening to the sound of the zither and looking at the person, he was able to connect the two. "Mister, please take a seat." Lady Murong waved her hand and invited Qin Wushuang to take a seat. Qin Wushuang did not stand on ceremony and sat down at the guest seat. The banquet was not as luxurious as Xiao Bailong's. There were only a few exquisite dishes and 4 exquisite desserts. Xiao Zhu obediently poured wine for Qin Wushuang. "Mister, this Nine Raven Empire does not have any good wine. This banquet is simple and crude. You don't have to think that my miss is stingy." Qin Wushuang said, "Thank you for the invitation. I have seen your hospitality. How would I dare to be picky?" He raised his cup and said, "I am indebted to you. Let me first toast to express my thanks." That Miss Murong was not arrogant. She also raised her cup and drank a cup. Lady Murong's actions did not have the careful and bashful attitude of a normal girl. His actions were natural and unrestrained. Obviously, it was not something that a normal girl could compare to. "Mister, when I was upstairs earlier, I saw you act righteously on the street and save the life of that drunkard. I have never seen such magnanimity and chivalry. Therefore, I invited you to drink a few cups of wine. Please forgive me for being rude," Lady Murong said. She did not feel bashful about inviting Qin Wushuang. Instead, she had a natural expression and did not show any signs of being pretentious. Qin Wushuang was enlightened. "I see. When I was on the street earlier, I felt that someone was visiting upstairs. I thought it must be you." "Yes, it was me." Xiao Zhu came over and filled their cups with wine. She said with a smile, Miss, you are too polite. In my opinion, you don't have to be so polite. Let's chat casually and not be restrained. Isn't that good? Even I feel awkward for all of you if you keep being so courteous." Lady Murong was already used to Xiao Zhu's style as she sighed helplessly. "Mister, I have spoiled Xiao Zhu. Thus, although she speaks without restraint, her heart is not bad." Qin Wushuang said, "Miss Xiao Zhu is straightforward. I like to interact with such people the most." Xiao Zhu laughed. "Miss, did you hear that? You always say that I am careless and that I speak without thinking. However, Mister said it so well." Lady Murong sighed helplessly and asked, "I saw that you were in a hurry and you seemed to be depressed. Did you have something urgent to do?" Hearing her question, Qin Wushuang remembered that his teacher was still waiting for him at the Stargaze Palace. Inwardly, he sighed, "My family is injured and in imminent danger. Thus, I am anxious. I didn't expect you to have the ability to see through people." Lady Murong said apologetically, "Mister, I didn't expect to cause you such grief. However, you are righteous, and for sure, your family will receive good karma." "I hope so. I can only do my best. Even if I have to go through a mountain of knives or a sea of fire, I will go." "Forgive me for asking, but where are you from? Are you a citizen of the Nine Raven Empire?" That Lady Murong was stunned for a moment and gave a light sigh. "Mister, since I invited you, I should tell you the truth. Only, there are some twists and turns, and it's a long story. My surname is Murong. In the future, if you are fated, you will know my background. Today, it is inconvenient for me to tell you. Please forgive me." When Qin Wushuang saw her speaking politely, he knew that for sure she had some hidden troubles. At the moment, he did not ask further. He only said, "There is the so-called saying of why should we know each other when we meet? It's my fault. Lady Morong, please forgive me. My surname is Qin." Qin? Stunned, Lady Morong seemed to have thought of something. Then, she felt it was impossible as she asked, "Mister, you are from the human countries, right?" "Yes." Lady Morong nodded and did not ask further. Xiao Zhu could see that the atmosphere was a little awkward. She tried to adjust the atmosphere. "Mister, it's not that my lady is petty and is not willing to say her background. It's because if her background is exposed, it will implicate too many people. Mister is an upright person and should be understanding." Qin Wushuang smiled. "Lady Xiao Zhu, I deeply understand. Your lady's situation is exactly the same as mine. Mister also has some hidden troubles?" Lady Morong asked with a smile. Qin Wushuang naturally had his own hidden troubles. His identity and background were all highly confidential matters. No matter who it was, they could not be exposed. Although he also felt that this lady was an otherworldly person and did not have any bad intentions, he still had to be wary of her when meeting her for the first time. Qin Wushuang nodded. "The worries in my heart right now are not something that lady can imagine. Every time I think of my family's suffering, I feel a sense of depression in my chest that cannot be dispelled." Xiao Zhu smiled. "That's easy. Mister, my lady's zither music is the best at dispelling sadness and broadening the mind. You have to ask my lady to play another song. I guarantee that your mood will be much better." Qin Wushuang was also fascinated by Lady Morong's zither music. The previous song was fleeting, like the sound of nature. It was short, but it was not enough. "If I can listen to lady's music in person, my life will not be in vain." Lady Morong smiled. "Mister, you flatter me. Since that's the case, I will play a song for you. It will dispel the worries of the mortal world." When Xiao Zhu heard this, she hurriedly went upstairs to get the zither. After Lady Morong adjusted the strings a few times, she began to play. Her slender fingers danced on the zither strings. The rhythm was born, as if it suddenly came from the heavens. This zither music was like the silent night, like the vast starry sky. It had a kind of tranquil beauty. Qin Wushuang listened as if he was intoxicated. Yet his mind was calm. All the troubles and pain from the two worlds seemed to have faded away. Only the peaceful sound of the zither reverberated in his head for a long time. At this time, the door of the private room was suddenly pushed open. A gust of wind blew in. A shadow flashed into the private room and shouted, "Who is this girl playing the zither here? Why didn't you invite me to listen?" This person's mouth was unclear. If it was not Mr. Zhao, who could it be? It turned out that this fellow had been drinking in the private room next door. He was bored waiting for Zhu Dezhong. He didn't know anyone in this place, so he was very annoyed. When he heard the sound of the zither, he walked over and pushed the door open. Seeing Qin Wushuang's face, Mr. Zhao seemed to have some impression. He looked at him a few times, but did not care. Instead, he stared at Lady Morong and sized her up. His attitude was very rude and arrogant. Qin Wushuang frowned. This guy was really a killjoy, interrupting such a heavenly zither music, causing him to lose the chance to listen before the song ended. He wanted to stand up, but considering that he was a guest, he did not do anything. Instead, he waited to see what the host's attitude was. Lady Morong's face turned cold and said lightly, "Who are you? How dare you be so rude?" Mr. Zhao saw that there was only one young man in the room. There were also two young girls. He became more courageous and said cheekily, "The first time unfamiliar, the second time familiar. Who am I? Let's drink a few cups, and you will know." Xiao Zhu said angrily, "You lecher, get out." Lady Morong's expression was indifferent. "Xiao Zhu, step back. If you want to drink my wine, you have to see if you have the qualifications." Mr. Zhao laughed and said, "Do I need qualifications to drink wine? What qualifications? This guy is sitting here so casually. It should be the first time we meet. Does he have the qualifications?" Qin Wushuang did not provoke him. Instead, he pointed at Qin Wushuang and made things difficult for him. Lady Murong said, "This gentleman is my guest. I personally invited him, but you came uninvited. How dare you be so rude? I wonder which country you are from. Which family are you from?" Mr. Zhao laughed. "So this qualifications is to ask about one's background. I don't want to say it. If I say it, I am afraid I will scare you. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 327. Miss Murong still had an indifferent expression. Instead, Xiaozhu giggled. "Why don't you tell us? If we are not scared, you could go back to where you came from," Xiaozhu said with a mocking tone, and asked Qin Wushuang, "Sir, I wonder if you'll be scared by him?" To the people of the Nine Palace faction, Qin Wushuang wanted to get rid of them as soon as possible. He already knew his background like the back of his hand. Of course, under such circumstances, he would not reveal his hatred. He only shook his head with a bitter smile. "I don't know what fear is, just speak your mind." From his words, it was obvious that he did not take this young Master Zhao seriously. Hearing their mocking tone, young Master Zhao was annoyed. He could not vent his anger in front of beautiful women, but in front of Qin Wushuang, he did not need to hold back. He sneered and sized up Qin Wushuang. "Sir, this is not the first time we have met." Qin Wushuang had met young Master Zhao twice at the Nine Raven Temple branch. Now, it was the third time they met here. It was not strange that young Master Zhao had an impression of him. "If I remember correctly, this is the third time," Qin Wushuang said lightly. Young Master Zhao laughed. "You have a good memory, but I wonder what your background is. This lady is asking you. Why are you not answering, but asking me instead?" "I do not want to scare everyone with my background," Qin Wushuang said indifferently. Xiaozhu could not help but say, "Hey, are you going to tell us or not? If you're not going to tell us, then get out. Can't you see that the people here do not welcome you?" Young Master Zhao sneered. "Little girl, why are you in such a hurry?" Xiaozhu's face darkened, and she said with a straight face, "Who is in a hurry? I just don't want you to spoil the fun here." Young Master Zhao was born with a noble background. When had he ever been ridiculed like this? His expression changed. This girl has a sharp tongue. She really has no manners. However, Miss Murong said, "Sire, you came uninvited and pushed the door open, yet you stumped my upbringing." Young Master Zhao sneered. "You're really long-winded. I want to listen to you play a little song. That's your honor. You're just a Jianghu geisha. Do you really think you're a big shot?" As soon as he finished speaking, he took a few steps forward. "Today, I want you to accompany me on a trip." After saying that, he leaped towards Miss Murong. This young master, Zhao, also flew into a rage out of humiliation. According to his conjecture, since these two women had wandered into a restaurant to sing, they naturally wouldn't have a high status. As for this man, he had always been a loner. He didn't seem to be a big deal. At that moment, his evil intentions grew in his heart, and he tried to grab Miss Murong's slender arm. Qin Wushuang shouted, "Don't be rude." Just as he was about to make a move to stop her, he saw Miss Murong lightly sweep her sleeve. A zither string shot out from the zither with a whoosh. With a flash of yellow light, it wrapped around young Master Zhao's body. Miss Murong lightly moved her finger, and like a puppet, young Master Zhao was completely controlled by the zither string. He sat swaying left and right as if he was drunk. There was no trace of his previous ferociousness. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang was shocked. He was dumbfounded as he watched this miraculous scene. In Qin Wushuang's eyes, he had not seen through the fact that this Miss Murong had such powerful methods. This young master, Zhao, should be at the middle stage. He was restrained by Miss Murong in one move, and it was a miserable defeat where he couldn't even react and had no room to struggle. "You're a bit hot-headed. Go out and calm down." There was a trace of coldness in Miss Murong's tone. She frowned slightly and apparently. She despised young Master Zhao's actions. She lightly lifted her arm, and that zither string flashed again. As if it had produced a wave of invisible force, it shot young Master Zhao out like a cannonball. That young Master Zhao thought he was going to be humiliated and fell miserably. Unexpectedly, when he stepped on the ground with the tip of his foot, he didn't have the slightest bit of momentum and stood firmly. Regardless of his courage, he knew that he had met an elite warrior. With a face full of disbelief, he didn't dare to take another step forward. Instead, he walked downstairs with a gloomy face. Of course, he couldn't stay any longer after suffering such humiliation. Filled with hatred, he left with anger. Xiaozhu chuckled. This person is truly baffling. Miss, if I were you, I would make him suffer. Miss Morong sighed. Little Bamboo, we've seen a lot of people like this along the way. If we were to take each of them seriously, I don't know how many people we would have to kill. At this time, Qin Wushuang was extremely impressed by this Miss Morong. I had eyes but couldn't see. I didn't expect Miss Morong to have such skills. I'm sorry for my disrespect. I made a fool of myself in front of you. Unfortunately, before the song ended, my mood was ruined by this evil guest. Qin Wushuang gave a long sigh. I'm afraid it'll be an eternal regret if I didn't finish the song. Miss Morong, I have some important matters to attend to. Thank you for your hospitality, and I will leave now. Mr. Qin, you're leaving? Little Bamboo asked stutteringly. Qin Wushuang gave a long sigh. All good things must come to an end. Today, I was fortunate enough to meet Miss Morong, hear the sound of the zither, and be entertained by Miss Morong. Miss Morong, please. Inwardly, Miss Morong was somewhat disappointed when she saw that he was leaving. However, she nodded lightly. Mr. Qin, the road ahead is long. Take care. Miss Morong, take care too. With cold sweat on his back, Qin Wushuang bid farewell and left. The moves of this Miss Morong had deeply shocked Qin Wushuang. That casual move had put that young master, Zhao, into such an embarrassing state. At such a young age, could it be that this Miss Morong was at the advanced age? Qin Wushuang found it incredible. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not have connected such a weak girl with an elite warrior at the advanced stage. However, facts spoke louder than words. I wonder, which sect does this Miss Morong belong to? From her tone, she seemed to be secretive about her background. I think she should be an exceptional disciple of a major sect. Could she be a disciple of the Nine Raven Temple? If she is a disciple of the Nine Raven Temple, why would she come here to waste her time instead of training at the Nine Raven Abyss? Qin Wushuang thought about it and felt he could not figure it out. He shook his head with a bitter smile and thought, I am worrying too much. This Miss Morong and I met by chance, and from now on, we will be strangers. Why should I care about her background? When he thought here, Qin Wushuang swept away those messy thoughts. Qin Wushuang did not plan to stay at this restaurant after he had settled Xiaoguan. He was more concerned about the whereabouts of that young Master Zhao. From beginning to end, Qin Wushuang carried a wave of stubbornness to take out this young Master Zhao and vent his anger. While he was searching, a figure turned around from the side of the street. Qin Wushuang glanced from the corner of his eyes, and his heart thumped. This person was Zhu Dazhong. Since this Zhu Dazhong had appeared here, he should have finished the mission he had received from the Nine Raven Temple. This Zhu Dazhong appeared to be in a hurry as he walked into Xiao Bailong's restaurant. Although Qin Wushuang had moved to the side, Zhu Dazhong still saw him. Being an elite warrior at the advanced stage, how powerful would Zhu Dazhong's memory be? He had seen Qin Wushuang once and had an impression of him. Now, seeing him again, he could not help but look at Qin Wushuang a few more times. Qin Wushuang carried a light smile on the corner of his mouth. Yet, he was not afraid as he walked out leisurely. Inwardly, he was filled with regret. With the appearance of this Zhu Dazhong, it would be inconvenient to take out young Master Zhao in the imperial capital of the Nine Raven Empire. Inwardly, he was somewhat disappointed. Although he was disappointed, he was not depressed as he walked forward. Before he had walked a few steps, suddenly, Zhu Dazhong shouted, "You in front, hold on." Qin Wushuang knew that he was calling him as he stopped his footsteps. "Are you calling me?" Zhu Dazhong walked over casually. "Yes, I am calling you. I feel that you are somewhat familiar, as if I have seen you somewhere before. Am I not the same? Did you appear at the branch of the Nine Raven Temple?" Qin Wushuang pretended to be ignorant. Inwardly, he was feeling apprehensive. This Zhu Dazhong was at the advanced stage and had sharp eyes. Could it be that he felt a trace of familiarity from his figure and temperament? Indeed, Zhu Dazhong shook his head. I did see the Nine Raven Temple once. I remember that. I just feel like I've seen you somewhere before. Qin Wushuang said with a cold sneer. Then take your time. I will not accompany you. Although Zhu Dazhong was tyrannical, he would not dare to act rashly in the territory of the Nine Raven Empire. After all, he did not know Qin Wushuang's identity. If he caused any trouble, he would have to bear the consequences. At this time, another person called out from behind. Head Zhu, don't let him go. Zhu Dazhong looked back and saw that it was young Master Zhao. He listened to young Master Zhao's words. When he saw Qin Wushuang was about to leave, he stopped him again. Don't go yet. Qin Wushuang was displeased. What do you want? That young Master Zhao caught up with him in a flustered and exasperated manner. Head Zhu, this kid and those 2B asterisk cheese had humiliated me. Since you are here, you cannot ignore it. Zhu Dazhong replied with an "oh." He looked at Qin Wushuang and asked young Master Zhao, where did this kid come from? How dare he humiliate you? Young Master Zhao shook his head and said, he is not from the Nine Raven Empire. Otherwise, he would not need to go to the Nine Raven Temple to receive the mission. When Zhu Dazhong heard this, he felt that it made sense. He looked coldly at Qin Wushuang and asked young Master Zhao, how does young Master plan to deal with this kid? Young Master Zhao sneered, I will break his legs. Qin Wushuang focused his attention. At this time, a faint voice came from the restaurant. It seems that I was too soft on you. You did not learn your lesson. Everyone's gaze turned towards that direction. Miss Murong slowly walked out with her little Huan, Xiao Zhu. Young Master Zhao's expression changed. He whispered a few words in Zhu Dazhong's ear. Zhu Dazhong looked at Miss Murong in surprise, his face full of caution. Who are you? Are you a disciple of the Nine Raven Temple? There were only a few young people in the entire human world who could subdue young Master Zhao so easily. Perhaps only the strongest young disciple of the strongest sect in the upper rank empire could do it. Therefore, Zhu Dazhong did not dare to offend such a person. Miss Murong was obviously not willing to be courteous with Zhu Dazhong. She looked coldly at young Master Zhao. What did you say behind my back? Young Master Zhao subconsciously took 2 steps back. His face was ashen. The word *tch did come from his mouth. But he did not expect that this girl could hear the conversation downstairs. Could it be that she had super hearing? To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 328. Zhu Dazhong was a sly old fox. He could feel the girl's strong aura and hurriedly said, Miss, please wait. Miss Murong looked at Zhu Dazhong coldly. You want to stop me? Zhu Dazhong was a master, but he was stunned by a girl who was not even 20 years old. However, he knew that nothing must happen to Master Zhao. Otherwise, the archaic mysteries sect would be finished. He braced himself and said, It's my friend's words and actions that offended you. This old man will apologize to Miss here. At this point, Zhu Dazhong's old face was flushed red. He had been proud his whole life. Last time, he was forced to apologize to Qin Wushuang at the border of the great Luo Empire. This was a great humiliation. However, at this moment, he did not feel wronged at all. In front of absolute power, he knew that any pride and arrogance were fragile. This girl's aura was so strong that Zhu Dazhong could not grasp it. Zhu Dazhong's mind was filled with countless thoughts, each of which was very scary. He did not even have the courage to think further. Miss Murong saw Zhu Dazhong apologize, and her aura softened a little. She nodded and said, Your friend is too lacking in manners. If you are his friend, you must go back and tell his elders to discipline him. Yes, yes. Zhu Dazhong did not dare to say anything. He only nodded and agreed. If the people of the Heavenly Lake Empire saw this scene, their eyeballs would fall out of their sockets. The third sovereign of the archaic mysteries sect was actually bowing and bowing without any domineering aura. Zhu Dazhong pulled Master Zhao and turned to leave. He did not even stay for a moment and did not bother to find trouble with Qin Wushuang. Miss Morong only shook her head when the two figures disappeared. She thought, the strong warriors of the human countries have such backbone. When the calamity comes, how can they resist it? Xiaozhu walked up and said, Miss, why didn't you teach them a lesson? Miss Morong sighed. They are after all the strong warriors of the human countries. What's the point of teaching them a lesson? You can't change your nature. Qin Wushuang walked up and said, Thank you, Miss Morong, for helping me. Mr. Qin, even if I don't come down, these two people won't be able to do anything to you. Qin Wushuang smiled bitterly and said, Miss Morong's words are too much for me. However, Miss Morong's tone was firm. I've learned some skills to judge people since I was young. I observed your reaction just now, and you didn't show any despair when facing an absolute powerhouse. Thus, I can deduce that even if you can't defeat that old man, you should have a way to deal with him. Qin Wushuang's heart skipped a beat when he heard that. Right now, he really didn't dare to face this kind of person. Initially, Li Bai had already caused his mental state to decline. If Lady Morong knew how to read people, then he would feel as if he was sitting on pins and needles. The feeling of being completely seen through is really not good. Even so, I still have to thank you for helping me out. Yes, if Mr. Qin has something important to do, please go ahead. Miss Morong smiled and nodded. Qin Wushuang cupped his hands and said, All right, Miss Morong, we will meet again someday. After he had finished speaking, he walked forward. Inwardly, Miss Morong looked at Qin Wushuang's back and felt somewhat lost. Miss, don't look anymore. He is already far away. Little Bamboo said with a chuckle, We have also stayed long enough. It's time to go, right? For the first time, Miss Morong was somewhat confused. Where to? Regardless of where we go, we must go somewhere. Miss, I heard that the East is very fun and it's very far from the endless Eastern Sea. How about you take me to play on the sea? Little Bamboo suggested boldly. Miss Morong's expression changed. Sly girl, that endless Eastern Sea is not a place you can go to casually. The powerhouses of the endless Eastern Sea are not on good terms with the Xian Yuan Mount. If we go there recklessly and something happens, it will not be easy to deal with it. Miss, what are you afraid of? A few shrimp soldiers and crab generals cannot do anything to you. Even if they're major powerhouses, could they dare to harm you after knowing your background? Miss Morong was not as playful as Little Bamboo, as she only shook her head. You can go anywhere in the human countries. However, you cannot go to those forbidden places. Little Bamboo gave a lazy sigh and said helplessly, I only heard that the endless Eastern Sea is very fun. I don't know if I will have the chance to go in this lifetime. Miss Morong laughed lightly as she knew the thoughts of this little girl. Yet, she said, Little Bamboo, which country do you think Mr. Qin came from? Miss, you are this interested in Mr. Qin? Little Bamboo smiled evilly. Yes, although this Mr. Qin is an elite warrior from the human countries, I feel a different temperament from him. It's as if this person has a bloodline that surpasses the human countries. The two girls strolled on the street and whispered to each other. However, they used a unique technique to send messages and did not need to worry about being overheard by others. Miss, since he's a young man from the human countries, how could he have a bloodline that surpasses the human countries? Aren't your words contradicting themselves? Little Bamboo asked curiously. That's exactly what I find strange, Miss Morong replied snappily. However, Little Bamboo said, Miss, you are so interested in Mr. Qin, yet you are so reserved. Let's just chase after him and ask about his background. Then, wouldn't everything come to light? He is a big man. He would not be so stingy that he would not dare to speak about his background, right? Miss Morong gave a light sigh. Girl, this Mr. Qin is an upright person. For sure, he must have some difficulties since it is not convenient for him to speak about it. Why should we force him and make him feel awkward? Besides, didn't we not tell him about our background? Miss, you are such a contradictory person. If it's not convenient for you to ask, I will go. Little Bamboo was rather straightforward. Little Bamboo, it would not be much different if you go and ask. There was a trace of disappointment in Miss Mourong's tone. Suddenly, she said, "His surname is Chin." "Yes, his surname is Chin. What about it?" Little Bamboo felt somewhat strange and felt that today's miss was acting strangely as she spoke more than usual. "At our place, there is also a major powerhouse with the surname Chin. Do you know about it?" Little Bamboo stopped and said with a face full of surprise, "Miss, are you talking about that Heavenly Emperor Mountain?" Miss Mourong said with a serious tone, "That's it." Little Bamboo said stutteringly, It's impossible. Compared to the Heavenly Emperor Mountain, the Mourong family seems to be somewhat lacking." "Little girl, it's not just a little bit of difference. Okay, let's not talk about it." Since Miss Mourong did not speak, Little Bamboo became curious as she said, "Miss, since you are so curious, let's follow Mr. Chin and see where he is going." "Follow?" "Little girl, only you can think of it." Miss Mourong could not help but laugh. After a moment of thinking, she said, "If I've guessed correctly, Mr. Chin should be going to the dispersed praying mountain." "Miss, how do you know?" Little Bamboo could not believe it. "Didn't you hear him say that his loved ones were injured and were on the verge of death? When martial artists of the human countries are on the verge of death, they would usually go to the dispersed praying mountain to search for miraculous medicines." I saw his determined expression. He should have carried such thoughts. Besides, Mr. Chin had told that elder that he had met him at the Nine Raven Temple branch. If he is not a disciple of the Nine Raven Temple, for sure he went there to get the qualification plate to enter the dispersed praying mountain. This Miss Mourong had a meticulous mind. In a moment, she had concluded a lot of things. Little Bamboo opened her mouth widely. "Miss, I really couldn't tell that you usually don't like to talk. I didn't expect that you would speak such astonishing words. You have concluded so much. How come I never thought of it?" "Little girl, when did you become a bootlicker?" Little Bamboo said with a chuckle, "Miss, since we know he is going to the dispersed praying mountain, shouldn't we go take a look? If we go like this, it will not be considered following him. Besides, the dispersed praying mountain is the way home. If we go in, it's the same as going home. It's the right thing to do." Xiao Zhu was an outspoken girl, but she was also quite witty on the inside. She knew that Miss was paying close attention to that Mr. Chin. Thus, she tried to find excuses for her. Miss Mourong said, "All right, since we have nothing to do, let's go take a look at the dispersed praying mountain." On the other hand, when Qin Wushuang left the imperial capital, although he would occasionally think of Miss Mourong's zither music, that was it. Qin Wushuang was also an intelligent person. When he saw that Miss Mourong was not ordinary, he already had some guesses. He felt that most likely this Miss Mourong was the same as that Li Bai. She had come from those hidden sects and venerable families in the forbidden spiritual zones. She was an existence that had surpassed the human countries. Such a person was not someone Qin Wushuang could afford to offend. Regardless of being too close to her or offending her, it would not be a good thing. It would most likely bring unnecessary trouble. As they walked forward, they finally arrived at the border of the dispersed praying mountain. The entrance to this dispersed praying mountain was completely sealed. There were only a few fixed entrances. At the border of the dispersed praying mountain, there is a giant city called the Sky-Breaking City. The meaning of this Sky-Breaking City was a city that separated the human countries from the forbidden spiritual zones. To enter the dispersed praying mountain, one must pass through the Sky-Breaking City. Since Qin Wushuang had the Nine Raven National Scholar Command Plate, of course, he could enter unimpeded. Only, he still needed to wait 3 or 4 days for the summer open day. Qin Wushuang could only rest for a few days at the Sky-Breaking City. He could only enter when the open day arrived. Currently, a large group of people had gathered at the Sky-Breaking City who wanted to enter the dispersed praying mountain. Among these people, there were martial artists from the Nine Raven Empire, the Sky Travel Empire, and freelance martial artists and sect disciples from other human countries. There were countless large and small countries in the human countries. Those that could come here were at least at the level of a free country. Some were even at the level of an empire. Those elite warriors from the subordinate countries did not even have the strength to enter. It was apparent that these elite warriors that had gathered here were extremely cautious of each other. Besides the groups of 3 or 5, they almost never communicated. Of course, Qin Wushuang would not cause trouble. He had a firm will and would not be distracted by the spiritual infant fruits. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chidian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 329. Finally, the opening day had arrived. This time, at least a few hundred people had entered. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang was astonished. Regardless of these people's motives for entering the dispersed praying mountain, it meant that they could become potential enemies. When he arrived at the entrance, Qin Wushuang sensed 2 cold gazes staring at him from behind. Without looking back, he knew that these 2 were Zhu Dazhong and young Master Zhao. Qin Wushuang was not worried. As long as he entered the dispersed praying mountain, it would be like a fish swimming in the vast sea and a bird flying in the vast sky. Even if it was Zhu Dazhong, he would not feel the slightest fear. With the help of the terrain and various methods, Qin Wushuang believed that he would have the confidence to deal with Zhu Dazhong. Currently, he was more curious about why this Zhu Dazhong had come to the dispersed praying mountain. Could it be he was also looking for that spiritual infant fruit? And among this group of hundreds of people, how many had come to search for the spiritual infant fruit? Of course, Qin Wushuang also knew that the spiritual infant fruit was only one of the legendary spiritual medicines in the dispersed praying mountain. Although it was precious, it was not the only one in the dispersed praying mountain. If they did not have special needs, others might not have come to search for this spiritual infant fruit. When the entrance was opened, groups of people kept jumping into the dispersed praying mountain and disappeared in a flash among the continuous thicket of trees. Qin Wushuang was not an exception. Once he entered, he ran toward the hidden place at a fast speed. Previously, he had collected a lot of information related to the dispersed praying mountain. Now, he was not at a loss when he entered the dispersed praying mountain. According to the records, this spiritual infant fruit usually bloomed in remote places where there were no people. This spiritual infant fruit only blossoms and bears fruit every few hundred years. It's extremely difficult to find it, unless there's a great fortune, or else this trip is extremely difficult. In fact, Qin Wushuang also knew this. However, he was not discouraged. As long as there was a trace of hope, he would not give up. Qin Wushuang planned to search for the few places where the spiritual infant fruit had appeared in history. Although this method was stupid, it was the only way, or else it would be like searching for a needle in a haystack. Even if he were to travel through the entire dispersed praying mountain, he would not be able to do so in 3 years. After walking for about 3 to 5 days, Qin Wushuang arrived at a valley. According to the information, the spiritual infant fruit had appeared in this valley more than 1,000 years ago. The specific location was in an underground karst cave under the fault in the valley. Qin Wushuang followed the map and headed toward the bottom of the valley. It had been a long time since anyone had come to this area, so the vines were very thick. This gave Qin Wushuang a lot of leverage when he went down. Of course, it also added a lot of trouble for Qin Wushuang to find the karst cave. Although it was troublesome, Qin Wushuang still found the entrance to the karst cave after a while. He did not enter rashly. Instead, he let the white ferret out and instructed it to enter the karst cave to search. After waiting outside the cave for about 15 minutes, the white sable scurried out with a dejected expression. You didn't find it? Qin Wushuang was somewhat disappointed. He followed the white sable into the karst cave. The karst cave was not big. 15 minutes was enough for him to see everything. Qin Wushuang did not let go of any plants. However, none of them were similar to the spiritual infant fruit mentioned in the ancient records. After a few rounds of searching, Qin Wushuang walked out of the karst cave with some disappointment. He knew that the first location would not have the spiritual infant fruit. Just as he was about to leave after climbing up the mountain, he suddenly saw 2 figures rushing over from the bottom of the mountain path. Qin Wushuang was shocked as a strange thought emerged in his head. It's true that enemies are destined to meet. Could these two guys really be looking for the spiritual infant fruit? Zhu Dazhong and that young Master Zhao had come together. Only that young Master Zhao's strength was much lower, and Zhu Dazhong was obviously trying to adapt to young Master Zhao's pace. This way, their speed was not as fast as Qin Wushuang's. Qin Wushuang hurriedly dodged and hid his body among the trees. After a moment, Zhu Dazhong and that young Master Zhao had arrived at the scene. Young Master Zhao said, "Head Zhu, this is the place, right?" Zhu Dazhong looked for a moment and nodded to confirm. "This is the place." "Then let's go down." Young Master Zhao was impatient. "Hold on." Zhu Dazhong was extremely cunning as he looked around. After a moment, he shook his head and said, "Someone has been here." "Someone has been here?" Young Master Zhao said, "Let it be. There are at least 80,000 adventurers in this dispersed praying mountain. It's not strange for someone to have come here." Zhu Dazhong smiled bitterly. Inwardly, he thought that this young Master Zhao was an embroidered pillow. He did not know how he had reached the middle stage. Did he truly rely on his ancestors' glory? He explained patiently. In the dispersed praying mountain, everyone is competing with each other. There are even enemies. We must not let down our guard at each step. However, young Master Zhao was impatient. "Head Zhu, if we are afraid of tigers in front and wolves behind like you, I am afraid there is no hope for my grandfather's Dantian injury." Zhu Dazhong shook his head helplessly. "Then what should we do, young Master Zhao? Let's go down and split into two groups. Even if something were to happen, we can take care of each other." Zhu Dazhong said, "That's not necessary. We don't need to go down ourselves to scout the way." After he had finished speaking, he grabbed a spiritual mouse from his storage bag. It was furry, had a pointy mouth and monkey cheeks. Its rolling eyes made it appear extremely cunning. "Go, find the entrance to that karst cave." Under Zhu Dazhong's orders, that spiritual mouse scuttled out with a squeak sound. It scuttled down, and in a moment, it had followed the tree vines down into the deep valley. "Haha, Head Zhu, so you have such good stuff." Young Master Zhao laughed. "Head Zhu, last time you said that the archaic mysteries sect must compensate me for my hard work. I don't want anything else, but you can prepare a spiritual mouse for me. How about it? I don't need it to be a high level. An advanced stage is enough." Zhu Dazhong almost spat out a mouthful of blood. How many advanced stage spiritual beasts did the archaic mysteries sect cultivate? The five heads did not even have one. It could be seen how rare advanced stage spiritual beasts were. He smiled bitterly. "Young Master Zhao, advanced stage spiritual beasts are not easy to find. If young Master Zhao really likes, the archaic mystery sect will not hesitate to give you a middle stage spiritual beast." "Middle stage? Head Zhu, aren't you too stingy?" Zhu Dazhong could only explain. "Young Master Zhao, the archaic mystery sect only has 3 advanced stage spiritual beasts. I'm afraid that this number is less than the 9 Palace faction." Young Master Zhao was disappointed. In the 9 Palace faction, only the 3 heads have advanced stage spiritual beasts. The other advanced stage spiritual beasts do not have contracted masters. They only exist as a fighting force for the 9 Palace faction. If I could contract an advanced stage spiritual beast, wouldn't that be awesome? Zhu Dazhong did not dare to answer. This young master who had high standards but low abilities made him speechless. If he had known earlier that things would turn out like this, he, Zhu Dazhong, would have acted alone. At least it would have been better than having to serve this master along the way. Qin Wushuang, who was hiding in the dark, did not release his soul. But since he was so close to them, he still heard the conversation between the two. He was also secretly shocked and joyful. So that old man Zhao Heng's Dantian was indeed injured. It seems that the power of the graceful spiritual bow did not take effect at that time, but it injured him. He was in a hurry to escape, which aggravated the injury in his Dantian. Good. This way, my teacher will be more or less balanced. Calculating like this, Qin Wushuang had already started to consider whether or not he should kill these two here. He was confident that as long as he used the graceful spiritual bow to launch a sneak attack, he would have at least 80 to 90% chance of killing the Zhu Dazhong. Once Zhu Dazhong died, wouldn't this grandson of Zhao Hong be at his mercy? Thinking back to the day when Zhu Dazhong tried to kill him on the cliff at the border of the great Luo Empire, Qin Wushuang was already furious. And this Zhu Dazhong was also an accomplice in harming his teacher. This made Qin Wushuang even more determined to kill him. At this moment, seeing that he was not on guard, he had already started to think about this matter. A sneak attack must succeed on the first try. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to kill him again. Just like assassinating Zhang Baidang, there is only one chance. Qin Wushuang thought to himself. At this moment, a white light flashed in the valley. The spirit mouse suddenly scurried out. Without a doubt, the spirit mouse's expression was also very depressed. It chattered for a while. Qin Wushuang, who understood the language of beasts, naturally understood what it meant. This spirit mouse was telling Zhu Dazhong that there was a karst cave below. But the area of the cave was not big, and there were no spirit fruits, not even a vine. Zhu Dazhong was slightly disappointed and said, "Young Master Zhao, it seems that we have to change to another place." Young Master Zhao said gloomily, "Are there no spiritual infant fruits here?" Young Master Zhao said, "After all, the spiritual infant fruits are not ordinary fruits. They are natural spiritual medicine that grew from the earth. Although this place existed before, it does not mean that it exists now. Anyways, there are many places with spiritual infant fruits. If we go one by one, maybe we will get lucky, right?" This Zhu Dazhong's idea was exactly the same as Qin Wushuang's. They also planned to go one by one. However, Qin Wushuang thought inwardly. Next place? If I, Qin Wushuang, let you go to the next place, then I would not be a disciple of the Stargaze Palace. Today, I will kill this Zhu Dazhong and collect some interest. As for the grudge between the Nine Palace and the Archaic Mysteries sect, I will settle it slowly in the future. Zhu Dazhong was very cunning. He tossed the spirit mouse aside and gave a few instructions. He actually let the spirit mouse bring up the rear. Hearing his instructions, Qin Wushuang's heart tightened. Inwardly, he swore, "Such a cunning old fox. If he let this spirit mouse guard the rear, how can I carry out my sneak attack?" As it turned out, Zhu Dazhong had already sensed that someone had been here before. He was a cautious person and did not wish for their whereabouts to be discovered by other people who were looking for the spiritual infant fruits. Therefore, he had left the spirit mouse behind to guard the rear. Once there was any movement, he would be able to react immediately and come up with a countermeasure. Feeling helpless, Qin Wushuang could only suppress his anger for revenge. He watched Zhu Dazhong and that young Master Zhao walk away. Then, that spirit mouse jumped out from the bushes and rushed forward. Although Qin Wushuang's sneak attack plan had been thwarted, his fighting spirit had increased. Zhu Dazhong is an elite warrior at the advanced stage and the leader of sect. He is a cunning person. It would be strange if I could easily sneak attack him. Okay, I will fight with him along the way. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 330. Qin Wushuang lifted his feet and left. In a moment, a few figures scuttled out from this mountain valley. These figures were all extremely fast and dressed strangely. Each of them wore a bee-skin vest and bare their arms. On their faces, strange patterns were painted on their arms. On their heads, they wore a strange hat with 3 peacock feathers adorned on the back of the hat. The only difference between these people was the shape of the animal skin waistcoats they wore. Did you see it clearly? There are 2 groups. One of the leaders spoke. "It's just the beginning, and 2 groups have come. Haha, these 2 groups of people seem to have good strength. However, could it be that these guys from the human countries have all gone crazy? Are the spiritual infant fruits something so easy to get? Do they think they deserve it?" That leader said with a mocking tone, "But it's good this way. It makes our life much more interesting, and we will have more fertilizer." Ha ha ha. Children continue to hide. The group of weirdos roared with laughter, and all of them dove into the bushes, disappearing in a flash. Qin Wushuang went down quickly and was unaware of these changes behind him. After a few days, deep inside the dispersed praying mountain, two unique figures were walking on the road. These two silhouettes were actually two young girls. Their graceful figures and graceful footsteps all showed that these two people were in their prime. Of course, these two were Miss Mu Rong and her maid, Little Bamboo. "Miss, where are we going?" "What, you can't walk?" Miss Mu Rong asked. Little Bamboo shook her head. "That's not it. I was thinking that the deeper we go, the closer we are to the Xian Yuan Mound. What if some acquaintances see us and expose our whereabouts? I am afraid we will have to go back." "How could there be so many acquaintances? Don't forget, our home is far from this dispersed praying mountain. Even if someone knows about us and goes back to report, it would take at least 2 or 3 months." Miss Mu Rong was extremely confident. Hearing the words of her miss, Little Bamboo did not have anything else to say as she nodded. Okay. I can't win against you in an argument. Miss, tell me, where are we going now?" Miss Mu Rong said with a light smile. "Little Bamboo, how many major powerhouses are there in the dispersed praying mountain?" Little Bamboo said, "I'm not too sure about that. Probably 3 or 4 of them." "Then let's visit them one by one." Although Xiao Zhu did not understand, since Miss had decided, she did not say anything else. "All right, Xiao Zhu will accompany Mississippi." According to the information, Qin Wushuang headed towards the second location where the spiritual infant fruit had appeared. Based on his speculation, Zhu Dazhong and that young master, Zhao, must have gone to that place as well. According to the map, if one wanted to save time and increase efficiency, these two locations were on the same route. If they were to go to other places, they would have to take a long detour. It was definitely not worth it. Therefore, Qin Wushuang followed along the way, but did not deliberately approach. He knew that Zhu Dazhong had that terrifying spirit mouse, which was not easy to deal with. If he didn't respond well, he might turn from the hunter into the hunted. Thus, he slowly followed behind. After 7 or 8 days, Qin Wushuang arrived at a certain place. This place was only 200 or 300 miles away from the second location where the spiritual infant fruit had appeared. Only, Qin Wushuang did not expect that a large number of people had gathered at this place. In an empty field, a dozen groups of people had gathered in 2s and 3s. Qin Wushuang looked from afar and did not see Zhu Dazhong and that young Master Zhao. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang was curious. What were these people doing at this place? What he found even more strange was that Zhu Dazhong and young Master Zhao had not come here. Could it be that Zhu Dazhong did not play by the rules and would rather give up what was close at hand and seek what was far away to be one step ahead of others? Qin Wushuang's mind was full of questions. When he walked to that field, Qin Wushuang wanted to find someone to ask about the situation. However, he realized that these people all had the same expression, vigilance. It was as if they did not trust anyone, as each of their faces was filled with suspicion. Qin Wushuang understood the situation and did not ask. Instead, he pricked up his ears to listen to the discussions around him. After listening for a moment, Qin Wushuang finally understood some things. It turned out that these people were not moving forward because there was something strange about this place. It was rumored that a series of strange things had happened in one of the valleys 200 or 300 miles ahead. All the experts who had passed through that area had disappeared without exception during this period of time, and they had disappeared in a strange way. Indeed, this dispersed praying mountain is full of danger. We've only just arrived. It's this dangerous. Boss, if you ask me, I think we should retreat. How about we take a detour? A guy said in a low voice. However, that guy next to him shook his head unwillingly. I'm not willing to give up after coming here. Boss, of all things, our lives are the most important. Okay, third, don't try to persuade him. We don't blame you if you want to go back. Second, what do you think? Boss, I will listen to you. These 3 people discussed in a low voice on the side. Qin Wushuang was not in the mood to listen anymore. He said with a smile, Everyone, I wonder where this news came from? Although he spoke suddenly, the others did not pay attention to him. Instead, they looked at him with wide eyes. Apparently, they did not trust this person who had appeared out of nowhere. Qin Wushuang said. It's true that this dispersed praying mountain is full of danger. However, I want to ask, do any of you know anyone who went missing? No. Yeah, there really isn't. Qin Wushuang said with a smile. Since everyone is full of doubts and is lingering here, we should either leave or continue to move forward. It's not a solution to stay here. When these people saw Qin Wushuang speaking with assurance, someone could not help but ask, what you said is good. Why don't you go and try first? Qin Wushuang said with a smile, I will go. I'm just afraid that you guys would not dare to go with me. Qin Wushuang knew that most of the people who had appeared in this area had come for the spiritual infant fruits. These people were all potential enemies. However, if he used them well, he could cooperate with them temporarily. When those people heard Qin Wushuang saying that he would be the first one to eat crabs, naturally, their courage increased greatly. All of them stood up and declared, as long as you dare to go first, we will dare to follow you. Qin Wushuang said with a smile, it's up to you guys whether to go or not. I am going. After Qin Wushuang had finished speaking, he rushed forward with quick steps. When these people saw Qin Wushuang's decisiveness, they were all astonished. They looked at Qin Wushuang's departing figure and felt somewhat conflicted. Brother, are we going or not? Let's go. If he dares to go alone, how could the two of us not dare to go? This was a conversation between two of his friends. The others were influenced by Qin Wushuang's attitude as they all said, let's go. We are all elite human warriors. Could it be that he has 3 heads and 6 arms? If he dares to go, wouldn't we become a joke if we don't go? This way, those people who had initially wanted to retreat could not help but feel their blood boil as they all followed. Qin Wushuang did not stop along the way as he thought. Most likely, some people are playing tricks. I don't believe that there would be so many dangers before we have even reached the center of the dispersed praying mountain. Although he was trying to boost his courage, Qin Wushuang did not dare to neglect. The closer he got, the more cautious he became. After walking for about 2 hours, they climbed up a high slope. Looking down, they saw a winding and spiraling valley, spiraling downwards continuously. It was as if the heavens and earth had drilled out such a spiral valley here. It was a spectacular sight. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang was astonished. Indeed, this dispersed praying mountain is rich. It has such a great place. No wonder this place is called the Spiral Valley. So, this is the terrain. Deep inside the Spiral Valley, 2 figures were hiding in the dark. They looked over like hawks. Indeed, they were young Master Zhao and that Zhu Dazhong. That young Master Zhao swore, darn it, this group of bastards, are they not afraid of death? Head Zhu, the rumors we spread did not seem to work. However, Zhu Dazhong said, there will always be people who are not afraid of death. It's impossible to stop everyone from coming. Young Master Zhao, when this person comes down, I will launch a surprise attack on him. You hide here and do not make a sound. If we can kill 1 or 2 elite warriors and lay their bodies here, it will serve as a deterrent. Our rumors will also become more powerful. Young Master Zhao nodded. Okay, then I will wait to admire Head Zhu's marvelous skills. Zhu Dazhong observed with rapt attention. Suddenly, his expression changed as he swore, darn it, what's wrong? Young Master Zhao raised his head and looked over, only to see batches of people rushing over from the top of the hill. Young Master Zhao secretly complained, what the hell? Why did this group of people change their minds again? Zhu Dazhong said hatefully, someone must have instigated this, otherwise this group of people would not have come in such an orderly manner. As he spoke, Zhu Dazhong's eyes suddenly widened. Young Master Zhao, look at that person. Don't you think he looks familiar? Young Master Zhao looked. It's him again. Zhu Dazhong said fiercely, why is this guy haunting me? Everywhere I go, there is a shadow. Young Master Zhao looked around and said, this time, the 2 girls are not with him. Zhu Dazhong smiled bitterly. Young Master Zhao, you are not thinking of provoking him again, are you? Zhu Dazhong had suffered a great loss in front of the restaurant last time, and he had a deep impression of it. He really did not want to provoke trouble. That girl's aura made Zhu Dazhong feel a lingering fear when he thought about it later. Young Master Zhao said hatefully, "This kid caused me to be humiliated. If I don't teach him a lesson, I will not be at peace." Master Zhu, if it wasn't for that girl, would this kid be a threat? Zhu Dazhong rolled his eyes and suddenly smiled. Got it. Our plan did not work. Let's think of another plan. Young Master Zhao hurriedly asked. What plan? Killing with a borrowed knife. Zhu Dazhong laughed and whispered a few words into young Master Zhao's ear. Young Master Zhao nodded his head. Master Zhu, good plan. Zhu Dazhong laughed. Then let's go out and meet with them. Remember, when we meet with that kid, do not leave any traces behind. Act as if we did not hold any grudges, and do not reveal any flaws. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 331. Zhu Dazhong and young Master Zhao both jumped out and stood somewhere in Spiral Valley, hesitating to move forward. The people standing on top of the hill obviously saw the two of them. Someone immediately shouted, "Look, there are people down there. They're still alive." Qin Wushuang saw the two of them from afar. His heart sank. Why are these two here? Could it be that the tricks from before were just their tricks? He turned around and asked, "Everyone, were those two the ones who told you the rumor?" "I don't think so." No. Qin Wushuang did not find it strange. If Zhu Dazhong was the one who spread the rumor, he would definitely find a way to use others to spread the rumor. This kind of trick was not very clever. Since there were living people down there, these people were not so afraid and ran down the valley. Although Qin Wushuang was suspicious of Zhu Dazhong and young Master Zhao, he was not afraid and followed them down. When they reached the bottom, Zhu Dazhong saw Qin Wushuang and actually took the initiative to smile. He did not look like he wanted to cause trouble, but said, "Sir, I trust you have been well since we last met. Where are the two ladies?" Qin Wushuang smiled faintly. "Could it be that your companions are still thinking about the two ladies?" When young Master Zhao heard Qin Wushuang's mocking words, although he was angry inwardly, he pretended to speak with a depressed tone. "Mister, I was wrong earlier. However, today there's no need for us to hold on to that old grudge, right? You are here for the spiritual infant fruits. Why don't we all work together?" "Work together?" Qin Wushuang seemed to have heard the funniest joke. "Everyone wants the spiritual infant fruits. How can we work together?" Rumor has it that Spiral Valley is full of danger and that many strong cultivators have gone missing here. The two of us did not believe this and came to investigate. However, we did not see any danger. It seems that everyone was fooled by the rumor. These words immediately relaxed everyone's heartstrings. It would be great if there was no killing intent. Qin Wushuang remained calm and collected. He knew Zhu Dazhong's character too well. It was best to take his words in the opposite direction. If he said that there was no danger, then perhaps the danger was around. To the people in front of him, Zhu Dazhong's advanced spirit cultivation was the biggest potential threat. However, Qin Wushuang naturally wouldn't expose him. Zhu Dazhong said, "However, the range of our exploration is limited. There is no danger for the time being, but that doesn't mean there will always be no danger ahead. Everyone, this old man has a suggestion. I wonder if everyone is interested in hearing it?" "What suggestion?" "Yes, if there's a constructive suggestion, of course everyone is willing to listen." Zhu Dazhong smiled and said, "Let's be frank. Does everyone here have the same thoughts as this old man? Are you all here for the spiritual infant fruits?" "Hee, since you've already said so, there's no point in denying it." "That's right, at least the two of us are here for the spiritual infant fruits." "That's right, so are we." Zhu Dazhong shifted his gaze to Qin Wushuang, obviously wanting to hear his opinion. Qin Wushuang smiled faintly and said, "I'm not." Zhu Dazhong obviously didn't believe him, but he didn't expose him. He smiled and said, "Whether or not you are, everyone wants to pass through this Spiral Valley. It can't be wrong, right? Didn't this Spiral Valley produce the spiritual infant fruits before? If we don't look for it, why will we pass through Spiral Valley?" "Yes, sir." Don't tell me you want to trick us into leaving so that you can take the spiritual infant fruits for yourself? When someone said this, the others looked at Zhu Dazhong suspiciously. Their faces were filled with caution and vigilance. Obviously, they would rather believe it to be true than not. Although Zhu Dazhong made it sound nice, as the saying goes, you may know a person's face but not his heart. It was basically impossible for adventurers to trust each other. However, Zhu Dazhong didn't mind. He laughed and said, I know what everyone is thinking. It doesn't matter if you don't trust me. It's easy to work with so many people. Let's go search. If there are spiritual infant fruits, it'll be even easier. To be honest, I also hope that there are some here. Qin Wushuang suddenly said, if there were, you would have already taken them. You asked everyone to search so that you could leave in the chaos. Wouldn't everyone still be fooled? Zhu Dazhong sighed and said, Sir, your imagination is really rich. Then I won't leave and will search with you. To be honest, the two of us have only been here for less than a day. Do you think it's so coincidental that we'll see a ripe spiritual infant fruit here, waiting for us to pick it? And after picking it, we'll just wait here like idiots for you to come? He really did get the effect of his opposite words. When the adventurers heard what he said, they all felt that it made sense. What was the spiritual infant fruit? It was something that bloomed and bore fruit every few hundred years. If they came across it the moment they arrived, how low would the probability be? If the two of them really had the spiritual infant fruit, they could have just continued to move forward and wait for the storm to pass before turning back. Why would they stay here and wait? Qin Wushuang's words just now were just to make Zhu Dazhong a target so that the other adventurers would be hostile towards him. This way, he would be able to take advantage of the situation. Who knew that Zhu Dazhong was so sly and cunning that he easily neutralized Qin Wushuang's attack? At this time, there were a total of 22 adventurers, including Qin Wushuang. These people started to conduct a carpet search of Spiral Valley. The result was obvious. As expected, there were no traces of the spiritual infant fruit. Everyone knew in their hearts that this place had fallen through once again. They left Spiral Valley together. These people obviously did not want to stay together and went their separate ways. Everyone hoped that they could reach the third location where the spiritual infant fruit had appeared as soon as possible. In fact, Qin Wushuang also did not want to travel with these people. This time, he decided to speed up and travel with all his strength. Despite this, Qin Wushuang still did not use the Wind Walk talisman and only relied on his feet. Along the way, Qin Wushuang tried his best to avoid all disturbances. Although he did encounter some wild spiritual beasts that tried to disturb him, Qin Wushuang did not engage them. He moved forward quickly to avoid trouble. After another 10 days, they arrived at the third location. This place was called the Monkey King Mountain. This Monkey King Mountain was an extremely mysterious area in the dispersed praying mountain range. Among all the places where the spiritual infant fruit had appeared, it was the place where it was most likely to appear. It was because the Monkey King Mountain had another name. It was called the 100 Fruits Mountain. This place was rich with spiritual qi, and rare fruits grew all over the mountain. It was extremely easy for those spiritual fruits to appear that could help with training. Only this Monkey King Mountain was not an ownerless place. It was called the Monkey King Mountain. Inside this mountain, there were all kinds of monkeys that were extremely difficult to deal with. As he approached the Monkey King Mountain, Qin Wushuang took each step carefully. He knew that all kinds of spiritual monkeys occupied this Monkey King Mountain. They were all powerful spiritual warriors of the Monkey Clan. There were even some at the perfect stage of the spiritual martial force. When facing such a place, Qin Wushuang did not have the capital to let his guard down. This time, Qin Wushuang was much smarter as he was not in a rush to show himself. He considered Zhu Dazhong as a dangerous factor and was not in a rush to show himself. He must be on guard against Zhu Dazhong's schemes. That Zhu Dazhong was not a broad-minded person. On that day at the Spiral Valley, his performance had made Qin Wushuang feel deeply suspicious. Only, he could not grasp his motive. However, since he knew Zhu Dazhong's personality, of course, he would not let his guard down. What Qin Wushuang did not expect was that around the Monkey King Mountain, there were no less than 200 elite warriors. They were either in the open or in the dark, entrenched around the Monkey King Mountain. "Brother, let's go, follow me." "Brother, where are we going?" "To the West Mountain Flying Waterfall. I heard the spiritual infant fruits have appeared there." "No way." "Spiritual infant fruits?" "The legendary spiritual fruit." "Spiritual infant fruits have appeared at the West Mountain Flying Waterfall. Let's go take a look." "Darn it, there are spiritual infant fruits?" "Let's go." Qin Wushuang secretly paid attention and found that this news was spreading everywhere, and everyone had rushed towards that direction without prior consultation. Apparently, many of the adventurers had not come for the spiritual infant fruits. However, they were all fascinated when they heard about the spiritual infant fruits. Everyone knew that this thing could repair the Dantian and increase the level of the Dantian. Increasing the level of the Dantian meant changing the Dantian and increasing one's training potential. If a person's training potential could reach the advanced stage, then it would not be a problem for them to enter the perfect stage after consuming the spiritual infant fruits. Although Qin Wushuang had mixed feelings, he would not miss out on this opportunity. Regardless of whether there were any fruits, it would not be a problem to take a look. What if there were spiritual infant fruits? If he missed it, wouldn't he regret it for eternity? When Qin Wushuang thought here, he also rushed towards the direction of the West Mountain Flying Waterfall. This West Mountain Flying Waterfall was located at the west mountain of the Monkey King Mountain. The terrain was steep, and there was a 30,000-meter waterfall falling from the sky. The waterfall was majestic, and there were endless rugged mountain paths on both sides. To climb up the West Mountain, one would need to have the climbing ability of Monkey. When Qin Wushuang arrived at the West Mountain, he saw a group of people gathered there from afar. These people stood a few hundred meters away from the flying waterfall and looked towards the waterfall with rapt attention. "Boss, is the rumor about the spiritual infant fruits true or false?" "How would I know? Regardless of whether it's true or not, we are already here. Should we rush in?" Initially, this waterfall was like a curtain. Behind this waterfall, there was an extremely deep and serene cave. To enter this cave, one must pass the test of this flying waterfall. Just as everyone was in doubt, a torrent flew out from the waterfall, and a figure emerged from it. It was young Master Zhao, and he said in exasperation, "The spiritual infant fruit has been taken by someone." Among the adventurers, there was someone who saw young Master Zhao in the Spiral Valley. He immediately asked anxiously, "Who took it?" Young Master Zhao said, "That kid is young. He is wearing a green robe and has a square face." That day in the Spiral Valley, he was the leader. Many of you have seen him. Young Master Zhao described everything in detail. Indeed, he was describing Qin Wushuang's appearance. Qin Wushuang used his divine sense to listen carefully. He was secretly shocked. As expected, this Zhu Dazhong did not have good intentions. He was obviously trying to frame Qin Wushuang and kill with a borrowed knife. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 332. As the saying goes, a man's wealth is his own ruin. Adventurers did not have any grudges against each other, so they would not kill each other. However, once someone obtained something that everyone coveted, they would most likely be hunted down endlessly. Zhu Dazhong's sudden move attracted everyone's attention. In this way, it could be said to be killing two birds with one stone. First, he could take revenge for what happened at the restaurant that day. Second, he could send everyone away and calmly search for the spiritual infant fruits in the Monkey King Mountain. Qin Wushuang naturally understood Zhu Dazhong's evil plan. He almost wanted to step out and reprimand young Master Zhao, but just as he stepped out, he retracted his foot. Human greed and human desire could not be reasoned with. Once young Master Zhao said so, these people would be prejudiced. No matter how he tried to explain, it would be difficult to escape suspicion. What would follow would be endless trouble. After stepping back, Qin Wushuang's mind spun quickly and an idea came to him. He thought fiercely, since Zhu Dazhong wants to play dirty with me, I'll play along with him. You can find someone to describe me to the heavens. Even if you draw a picture of me, so what? But you don't know that my face is just a mask. Thinking up to this point, Qin Wushuang simply took off his mask and replaced it with another one. Then, he changed into a set of hemp clothes from his storage bag. In this way, his image immediately changed into a rough, middle-aged man, and there was a deep scar on his face. This appearance was worlds apart from his previous gentle and refined appearance. Even if Zhu Dazhong were to recognize him, he would not be able to recognize him. Just when he was about to step out, suddenly, a zhi sound came from under his feet. Qin Wushuang was surprised as he did not know what it was. When he lowered his head to look, it was a monkey with golden fur all over its body. It was pulling the bottom of his pants, and its two front paws lifted his face. With one press, it had copied Qin Wushuang's action of changing his mask. Qin Wushuang was shocked and squatted down. Wu Gula, Ha Chan I Bo Wa, Chun Si Yuen Air. This greeting made that golden ape stunned. He waved his claws with extreme joy and started to talk with Qin Wushuang. For a moment, the man and the beast were conversing in the beast language. The more the ape talked, the more excited it became. It jumped onto Qin Wushuang's shoulder and chatted happily with Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang knew that there were many monkeys on this Monkey King mountain. He didn't have much hope of encountering a monkey. Everyone patiently conversed with the monkey. As such, the beast language that Qin Wushuang had painstakingly learned came in handy. As he chatted with the golden ape, he ran in the opposite direction of the West Mountain waterfall. Since he knew that this was Zhu Dazhong's scheme, Qin Wushuang was much calmer. There was an 80 to 90% chance that the rumors about the spiritual infant fruit were fake. As expected, the golden ape asked, "Human, did you come to the West Mountain waterfall to look for the spiritual infant fruit?" Qin Wushuang sighed. "Yes, but those two are too despicable. They framed me to distract everyone." The golden ape scratched its ears and cheeks. Overjoyed, there's no spiritual infant fruit in that waterfall. What a bunch of idiots. If the spiritual infant fruit is so easy to find, can it still be called the spiritual infant fruit? Qin Wushuang was shocked. "Brother Ape, could it be that you know about it?" The golden ape said, "Of course I know. However, it's impossible for you humans to get the spiritual infant fruit, unless you can defeat the Monkey King Mountain's king." Hearing his words, half of Qin Wushuang's heart turned cold. The Monkey King Mountain's king. Since he dared to call himself king, he couldn't be weaker than Qin Wushuang. To put it bluntly, even if Zhu Dazhong personally came, he might not be able to withstand a single blow from the Monkey King Mountain's king. Brother Ape, just how powerful is your Monkey King Mountain's king? Haha, perhaps he's a little bit more powerful than the strongest warrior in your human countries. The golden ape said, "Anyways, there are 3 major powerhouses in the dispersed praying mountain. The king of the Monkey King Mountain is one of them. Human, if you're here to find the spiritual infant fruit, I advise you to go back." Qin Wushuang shook his head and said, "It's not a big deal if I go back. Only, my teacher's life depends on this spiritual infant fruit. If I cannot take it back, my teacher's dantian would be destroyed, or he would die. As his disciple, if I can't take back the spiritual infant fruit, how could I face my teacher?" That golden ape said, "So you are not going to take it for yourself. Most of the adventurers who come here to find miraculous medicine will take it for themselves. I don't need to take it for myself." That golden ape said with a mischievous smile, "Okay, spiritual infant fruit. Do you need me to think of a way?" Qin Wushuang was overjoyed. "Brother Ape, if you have a way, I will be very grateful." "I don't want to be grateful. I want something new. If you teach me something fun, I promise to help you think of a way." This monkey was actually so playful. He actually gave such an absurd condition when he opened his mouth. This had put Qin Wushuang in a difficult situation. Something fun? He really didn't know much about this game. Even if he did, it would be human logic. Yet, he did not know what this monkey liked to play. After thinking for a while, Qin Wushuang still did not have a clue. When that golden ape saw him scratching his ears and cheeks, he seemed to enjoy it as he cried out, "Okay, take your time to think. Tell me when you think of something." After he had finished speaking, he twisted his body and drilled into the ground. Qin Wushuang immediately said, "Hold on, brother ape." Qin Wushuang knew that this golden ape was his last card. If he did not play this card well, most likely he would lose the chance to get the spiritual infant fruits. From the tone of this ape, this Monkey King Mountain did have the spiritual infant fruits. Only it was not easy to get them. Suddenly, a little head popped up from the ground in front of him. That golden ape said with a smile, "Don't call me brother ape. My name is Bao Bao." "Human, what is your name?" "My name is Wushuang." Qin Wushuang communicated with the beast language. "Wushuang, haha, this is an interesting name. Okay, it's rare to see a human who is proficient in the beast language. And you look interesting. Let me tell you, the spiritual infant fruits are on the Phoenix Cliff at the main peak of the Monkey King Mountain. However, I advise you not to go. It's because it will be very dangerous for you to go there." Qin Wushuang had an idea. Indeed, this Monkey King Mountain did have the spiritual infant fruits. Afraid that this ape would leave again, Qin Wushuang immediately used a topic to keep him. "Bao Bao, how come you have this name?" Bao Bao chuckled. "Because as soon as I make a move, there are two big bumps on my head. In our clan, in the entire Monkey King Mountain, there are no monkeys with bumps on their heads. Thus I got this name." Qin Wushuang sighed inwardly. Inwardly, this monkey clan did not even pay attention to naming. Just when he was about to ask a few more questions, Bao Bao's ears suddenly twitched. His expression suddenly changed as he said with a hurried tone, "Human, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Something big seems to have happened in the clan." "What happened?" "I don't know. I sense the call of the clan." "Human, I am leaving." After Bao Bao had finished speaking, he twisted his body and disappeared from the ground. When Qin Wushuang saw Bao Bao leaving quickly, he knew that this time, Bao Bao would not come back. Inwardly, he could not help but feel somewhat lost. At this moment, from the forest behind him, groups of human elite warriors flew out from the West Mountain flying waterfall. Darn it, without a sound, that guy took away the spiritual infant fruits. Darn it, isn't that right? That kid is spreading lies to deceive people. From the beginning, I felt that he was not a good person. Go after him. Don't let him run too far away. Then, we won't be able to catch him. One group after another, at least hundreds of people kept running towards the outside. Qin Wushuang dodged to the side and did not make a sound. When these people ran past him, they only glanced at his face and left in a hurry. Qin Wushuang gave a long sigh. Inwardly, he thought that these people were so blind that they were confused by a few lies. It was a miracle that such adventurers could survive until now. Fortunately, Qin Wushuang was wearing a different mask. His appearance was completely different. Naturally, there was no need to worry. Although this Zhu Dazhong's plan was vicious, it did not pose any real threat to Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang hid himself well. He knew that since Zhu Dazhong wanted to frame him, he would definitely come out. Now, that he could not go up the Phoenix Cliff, he would play with Zhu Dazhong first. Qin Wushuang was determined to kill Zhu Dazhong and young Master Zhao this time, no matter what. This was to prevent the two of them from being unable to accomplish anything. Letting Zhu Dazhong live would always be a disaster. After a while, two figures jumped out from afar. Young Master Zhao smiled and said, "Sect Leader Zhu, this move of yours is really brilliant. Now, the Monkey King Mountain area is much quieter. The pressure on us seems to have lessened by quite a bit." Zhu Dazhong laughed coldly and said, "This Monkey King Mountain is the place where the spiritual infant fruits are most likely to appear. According to my analysis, the place where the spiritual infant fruits are most likely to appear is not the West Mountain flying waterfall, but the Monkey Clan's sacred Phoenix Cliff. How to get up the Phoenix Cliff is the key. Same as before, we still need your spirit mouse to do it. It is a high-level spirit beast and is also very smart. In the territory of the Monkey Clan, it is much more convenient for a spirit beast than for us humans. Zhu Dazhong nodded his head and said, "That is exactly what I was thinking." He took out the spirit mouse and gave it some instructions before letting it out. Qin Wushuang's heart was as calm as still water. He had already made up his mind. This was the moment to make his move. At this moment, the distance between him and Zhu Dazhong was only 300 feet. With the power and speed of the graceful spiritual bow, this distance of 300 feet was negligible. Unless Zhu Dazhong sensed it beforehand, once he drew the bow, even if he had any special defense, he would not have time to use it. With a light push of his hand, he sent the white ferret out. The white ferret jumped into the bushes, making a rustling sound as it jumped into the forest. Zhu Dazhong quickly turned his head to look. When he turned his head, what he saw was a white ferret. The wariness in his heart immediately disappeared. But it was this moment of numbness that caused his back to turn towards Qin Wushuang. Everything was within Qin Wushuang's calculations. The graceful spiritual bow was knocked, and his aura surged. His sword was like a shooting star. Xiao! It broke through the air. End of 4th update. Continues tomorrow. Today's scheduled update is a preview chapter, not the main text. The main text will continue tomorrow. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 333. This arrow was not the strongest arrow. Qin Wushuang had used the graceful spiritual bow, but it was the most sudden arrow. Before this, no matter if it was the duel with Devil Boy, or dealing with Zhao Heng, or killing Zhang Baidang, the arrow was shot when the opponent was aware of the situation. But this battle was completely different. In this moment, Zhu Dazhong did not realize that there was such a great danger behind him. For this arrow, Qin Wushuang used his power very cleverly. At first, it was silent, but when this arrow shot through the air, it immediately spread out. Its aura seemed to have suddenly increased, and a wild feeling of devouring the heaven and earth filled the air. Zhu Dazhong's pupils dilated, and he instantly realized the danger. There was a devouring power behind him, as if it was going to devour the entire space. It was so terrifying. Zhu Dazhong only had one thought, and that was to rush forward, rush out of the devouring space, and run for his life. The heaven and earth trembled, and a beam of light flashed. The dark green arrow instantly arrived. Zhu Dazhong roared, and suddenly felt a cold, murderous aura behind him. At this moment, the heaven-defying defense of his entire body was suddenly activated. Whoosh! The green light collided with the yellow light emitted by the protective talisman that Zhu Dazhong had activated and bounced back heavily. The two rays of light collided, and with a bang, emitted a huge halo of light, which suddenly spread out in all directions. Crash! Young Master Zhao, who was beside Zhu Dazhong, did not understand what was going on and was pushed by this desperate power. His entire body suddenly flew up and fiercely smashed out. Zhu Dazhong secretly exclaimed that he was lucky. His body rushed forward, and he was about to drill into the ground. However, when Qin Wushuang dealt with him, he had shot 3 arrows in succession. His protective light could only block the first arrow, but how could it block the second arrow and the third arrow? The last 2 arrows, with the first arrow opening the way, were almost completely unrestrained. Carrying all of Qin Wushuang's vengeful anger, it instantly ignited this part of the heaven and earth. 2-pronged attack. 2 arrows were shot simultaneously, one on the left, one on the right, and Zhu Dazhong was completely trapped. Within Qin Wushuang's sight, everything was drawn into this murderous aura. There was absolutely no chance of luck, and there was no possibility of Zhu Dazhong escaping. 3 arrows. The graceful spiritual bow only had 3 arrows, but no one had ever been able to block these 3 arrows consecutively. Zhu Dazhong's body was only halfway through before he was hit by a second arrow that was as fast as a shooting star. The protective yellow light around his body was activated again, trying to offset the deterrent force of the arrow. However, after the first arrow was exhausted, the power of the second and third arrow was not something that the protective light could withstand. The green arrow arrived with a loud bang, and a powerful force suddenly invaded Zhu Dazhong's body. It was as if Zhu Dazhong's body was suddenly fixed by some kind of magic, and he could no longer drill down. Then he felt as if his back had been pierced by something, and his chest caved in. Bang! A huge crater appeared on the ground. Zhu Dazhong's body lay in the pit in despair, unable to summon any strength to resist. There were still some remnants of consciousness in his mind, but he also knew that this time he was really done for. With a leap, Qin Wushuang arrived in front of Zhu Dazhong. Zhu Dazhong's face was ashen as he looked at Qin Wushuang in shock. That's right, it's me. You don't recognize me, but you recognize this bow and arrow, right? Zhu Dazhong was in despair. Unexpected. There are even more unexpected things. With an evil grin, Qin Wushuang pointed at Zhu Dazhong's body to lock his life force. Using both methods, he pressed on Zhu Dazhong's dantian and initiated the power of Deep North quickly. To Zhu Dazhong, Qin Wushuang would not hold back. Zhu Dazhong was an elite warrior at the advanced stage and possessed extremely pure spiritual qi. Of course, Qin Wushuang would not let him go. Although Zhu Dazhong was injured before the spiritual qi in his dantian could disperse, Qin Wushuang sucked it in. Zhu Dazhong's eyeballs almost popped out of their sockets. What kind of sorcery is this? This is your punishment. Zhu Dazhong, on that day, when you wanted to kill me on that cliff, did you ever think that retribution would come this fast? Initially, when you colluded with the Nine Palace and came to the Stargaze Palace, you were so proud. Did you ever think that retribution would come this fast? Of course, you're archaic, and the Nine Palace will receive more retribution. Unfortunately, you will not live to see it. Qin Wushuang's tone was filled with resentment. He increased his absorption speed, and in a moment, he had completely sucked in the dantian of Zhu Dazhong, an elite warrior at the advanced stage. Although Zhu Dazhong's breathing was weak, his expression was ferocious. He was filled with resentment, hatred, despair, and unwillingness. Qin Wushuang was extremely happy. The more desperate his enemy was, the more he felt the pleasure of revenge. After he had finished absorbing, Qin Wushuang only felt his dantian bulging. The spiritual qi had filled his dantian to the brim. Qin Wushuang did not dare to neglect it, as he knew that today he should not use too much spiritual qi. He spat out the power of his palm and sent Zhu Dazhong to the Western Paradise. He took back the 3 jade green arrows and took Zhu Dazhong's head. Then he rubbed one of the rings on Zhu Dazhong's hand. Then he pushed with both hands, and the mud from all around rushed into this giant hole and buried Zhu Dazhong tightly. Qin Wushuang turned around and locked onto the position of that young Master Zhao. A moment ago, that guy had fainted without any resistance after being hit by 2 powerful waves of power. When Qin Wushuang walked closer, this young Master Zhao was still unconscious. Qin Wushuang did not hold back and sealed all the vital points of this young Master Zhao. Then, he threw him into the storage pouch. After he had done these things, Qin Wushuang did not linger and quickly left the Monkey King Mountain. Since he knew that something major had happened at this Monkey King Mountain, of course, he would not stay in this troublesome place. He decided to find a quiet place to train for a few days and then come out. Qin Wushuang left the Monkey King Mountain at a fast speed. He found a secluded place and started to train in isolation. In the dispersed praying mountain between the adventurers, if there was no conflict of interest, they would never attack each other senselessly. However, Qin Wushuang was still not reassured. He let out the white sable and let it patrol the area. Absorbing Zhu Dazhong's spiritual qi was different than absorbing Devil Boy and Zhang Baiding. This was the spiritual qi of an advanced stage warrior. Although he could not use it 100%, he could use 50 to 60%. Indeed, It was difficult to digest the spiritual chi of an advanced stage warrior. It was much more difficult than the spiritual chi of Devil Boy's mutated spiritual roots. This training took Qin Wushuang 10 days to completely digest all of Zhu Dazhong's spiritual qi. This time, Qin Wushuang happily discovered that after he had absorbed Zhu Dazhong's spiritual qi, the spiritual qi inside his body had a surging feeling. This scene was extremely familiar. Initially at the Pusan Mountain, after he had fought with that battle spiritual wolf, Qin Wushuang had also felt this surging feeling. Although the current surging feeling was not as strong as the previous time, Qin Wushuang knew that this was the sign of a breakthrough. About to break through, inwardly, Qin Wushuang was overjoyed as he silently felt this surging feeling. After a while, Qin Wushuang was finally certain that this feeling was not fake and was not an illusion. Initially, he had experienced this feeling. Compared to this moment, it was so clear and familiar. This feeling came from the same origin. Indeed, the spiritual chi of an advanced stage warrior is extraordinary. Although I only used 50 to 60% of it, Devil Boy's spiritual chi, plus the other spiritual chi I absorbed, had all been replenished. It was the accumulation of the breakthrough. Could it be I am truly going to break into the advanced stage at this dispersed praying mountain? This time, Qin Wushuang's mood was completely different from the sign of a breakthrough. He had been looking forward to this breakthrough for a long time and had even dreamed of it. Because of the Stargaze Palace's situation and the danger of being surrounded by enemies, he could not help but feel a sense of urgency. Only by breaking through would he have the hope to resolve those continuous crises. Only those at the advanced stage were qualified to activate the second loop of the 7 deadly formation arrays, enter the third loop, and break the seal of the purple flame electric beast. All of this was calling Qin Wushuang and urging him to work harder. And now, he had truly felt the feeling of a breakthrough. With this feeling, he firmly believed that the breakthrough would not be too far away. From the initial stage to the middle stage, it seemed that I only used half a year. And that breakthrough at the Green Jade Mountain was in the first month of last year. Only a year and a half had passed since then. My training speed is almost 10 times faster than others. It seems that the spiritual baptism of the 7 deadly formation arrays has helped me greatly. When he thought here, Qin Wushuang's confidence had increased greatly. Thinking about it, he had a lot of trump cards. Besides the graceful spiritual bow, he had the entire 7 deadly formation arrays as his trump card. And for the purple flame electric beast, as soon as he entered the advanced stage, he could break the seal and become his most loyal contract beast. This was another great trump card. With the graceful spiritual bow and the purple flame electric beast, Qin Wushuang believed that even if the perfect stage leader of a 9 palace faction were to come, he would have the confidence to deal with him. Qin Wushuang took out Zhu Dazhong's ring. He knew that this was Zhu Dazhong's storage ring. He weighed it in his hand and knew that there should be some things inside. Initially, Zhu Dazhong had added the opening spell to this ring. Without these spells, it could not be opened. However, since Zhu Dazhong was dead, the spell that was compatible with him had disappeared. Thus, Qin Wushuang had opened this space easily. As soon as he opened the space, Qin Wushuang saw a spiritual mouse. Since Qin Wushuang had prepared himself mentally, of course, he would not let it come out. He shot a wave of coagulated sword at it. Within the small space of the space ring, of course, that spiritual mouse had no room to resist. It could only run away and beg for mercy with squeaking sounds. Qin Wushuang communicated with the beast language. "Cooperate with me, and I will not hurt you." This spiritual mouse was an advanced stage scout beast and did not have strong combat power. Even if it came out to fight with Qin Wushuang, for sure, it would not win against Qin Wushuang's graceful spiritual bow. At the moment, it felt extremely depressed and surrendered. However, Qin Wushuang was not reassured by this spiritual mouse. He knew that this spiritual mouse was the most cunning. Immediately, he poked it twice and restrained it. Then, he threw it to the side of the ring. Then, he counted the other things. No wonder Zhu Dazhong was an advanced stage warrior. Indeed, there were a lot of things inside the ring. Qin Wushuang checked a few times and exclaimed in admiration of the bountiful harvest. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 334. Each of the three ancient talismans had a special symbol. One of them was the cloud and water talisman that Qin Wushuang had seen before. He did not expect Zhu Dazhong to also have one. There were two more. One was shining with golden light. Qin Wushuang guessed that it should be the golden protective talisman. The other one was a strange talisman that emitted blue light. Although Qin Wushuang did not know the truth, he knew that it was not an ordinary talisman. These three talismans should be very powerful. There were 5 pills in the bottle. Qin Wushuang smelled it and knew that it was the 9 reversal yang pill. Qin Wushuang was overjoyed. His teacher Tan Zhongqi had given him 3 of these pills. He had given one to Shang Yi and one to his teacher when he was injured. There was only one left. Zhu Dazhong actually had 5 of them. Wouldn't that mean he had 6 of them? Qin Wushuang naturally would not miss out on something like this. He put the 6 reversal yang pills together. Only then did he check the other items. Next was an offensive weapon. It was a chain spear of the advanced level. Qin Wushuang had seen Zhu Dazhong's weapon before. Naturally, he did not hold back and took it for himself. Although he did not like this weapon, it was not a bad idea to keep it. There would be a time when he would need it. There was also a defensive set. From the helmet to the armor, all the way to the boots, it was actually a set. Unfortunately, it was of the middle level. It seemed that Zhu Dazhong had no use for it. He probably kept it to reward his disciples. Now, Qin Wushuang took it for himself without holding back. Other than that, there was a secret book that recorded the archaic mysteries sex experience in beast taming. Beast taming was one of the specialties of the archaic mysteries sect. In the 3 Eastern empires, the archaic mysteries sect had always been outstanding in beast taming. They were especially good at taming earth elemental beasts. Qin Wushuang flipped through it for a while and felt that it was also good stuff. He stuffed it into his own storage bag. After checking all these items, only a thread-bound ancient book was left. The title of the book was Exploration of the Tianxian Continent. There's such a book? Qin Wushuang was very curious. He took it in his hand and checked it. His heart thumped. This is good stuff. In this table of contents, it mentioned all the forbidden spiritual zones in the Tianxian land. It seemed that all the big and small territories were recorded. There were also many records of legendary figures, events, and major historical events in the Tianxian land. Qin Wushuang clicked his tongue in wonder. This Zhu Dazhong actually collected such good stuff. It's really fresh. I don't know if this ancient book is some unofficial historical notes or an authoritative textual research. After looting all of Zhu Dazhong's equipment, Qin Wushuang finally pulled out young Master Zhao. He unsealed young Master Zhao's mute acupoint and threw him to the ground. He smiled and said, "Young Master Zhao, do you still remember me?" When young Master Zhao heard Qin Wushuang's voice, he was stunned. However, the mask that Qin Wushuang was wearing right now was a completely different person. "You? How did you?" Qin Wushuang laughed coldly. "TSK, your tone is exactly the same as Zhu Dazhong's before he died. Tell me, who is Zhao Heng to you?" Young Master Zhao trembled. "Sovereign Zhu is dead?" Qin Wushuang said lightly. "You guys schemed to frame me and shift the blame to me. You wanted to use me as a bait to lure the others away, so you guys could reap the benefits. This kind of wishful thinking was really well thought out. It was a pity that Zhu Dazhong died before he could achieve victory. I don't like to listen to nonsense. I'll ask again, who is Zhao Heng to you? If you open your mouth again and don't answer my question, I'll cut off your nose. If it's a lie, I'll gouge out your eyeballs as well." Young Master Zhao's entire body twitched. His eyes were filled with fear. He immediately realized that he should answer the question and protect his nose. "Zhao Heng is my grandfather. I'm the grandson of the 9 Palace faction's deputy sovereign. Mister, it was all a misunderstanding. That was Zhu Dazhong's idea. Is that so? Qin Wushuang said lazily. Yes, mister. Zhu Dazhong felt that you guys made him lose face at the restaurant that day. Thus, he had been holding a grudge. He wanted to use a series of vicious schemes to frame you. It really has nothing to do with me. Besides, I'm not on the same side as Zhu Dazhong. He's from the Archaic Mysteries sect in the Heavenly Lake Empire, and I'm from the 9 Palace faction. Archaic Mysteries sect? 9 Palace faction? Qin Wushuang pretended to be confused. These two powerhouses don't seem to have any connection. How come they're in cahoots? Young Master Zhao complained. It's all because of the Archaic Mysteries sect and my 9 Palace faction. They wanted to dominate the 3 Eastern empires, but they dragged the 9 Palace faction down with them. They caused my grandfather's Dantian to get shot by someone from the Stargaze Palace. Young Master Zhao only wanted to push all the blame to Zhu Dazhong. He kept splashing dirty water on Zhu Dazhong. Qin Wushuang kept young Master Zhao alive because he wanted to get some information from him. At the same time, since this young Master Zhao had such a high status, he was a rare commodity worth hoarding. At the most crucial moment, he could use him as a chess piece. At the moment, he said, "A while ago, there were rumors that the 9 Palace faction had invaded the Stargaze Palace. It seems it's true. Haha. I'm happy to see the 9 Palace faction deal with the Stargaze Palace. Coincidentally, I'm not on good terms with Zhuobuchuan of the Stargaze Palace." He said the opposite of the truth to get information from this young Master Zhao. On the other hand, this young Master Zhao was a complete idiot. He had grown up in a honeypot. Besides training, he did not have much scheming. Most importantly, his life was in the other party's hands. Of course, he could not think of any reason for the other party to lie to him. Hearing Qin Wushuang's words, he was overjoyed at the unexpected turn of events as he immediately said, "Mister, since you have a conflict with the Stargaze Palace, then we are on the same side. It's like the flood rushing against the Dragon King's temple. Mister, why don't you let me go? Let's discuss how to take care of the Stargaze Palace." Qin Wushuang said proudly, "With your little skills, what makes you think you are qualified to talk about cooperation with me?" Young Master Zhao smiled apologetically. "Since you were able to kill Head Zhu, of course you are powerful. Indeed, I am not qualified to cooperate with you. However, my sect, the 9 Palace faction, is a first-rate major sect. In the human countries, there are no powerhouses that the 9 Palace cannot deal with. Is that so? I heard that Zhuo Tianxi, the head of the 9 Palace faction, is a figure. I wonder what his strength is like." Young Master Zhao praised. "Heads with strength is not a bluff. In the human countries, I am afraid no one can beat him. And Heads comes from a powerful background. He is related to one of the powerful powerhouses in the Xianyuan Mount. Thus, in the human countries, no one dares to disobey the 9 Palace faction." Qin Wushuang's heart sank. Zhuo Tianxi had relatives in the Xianyuan Mound? Head Zhuo has such a relationship. Qin Wushuang could not help but feel curious. Young Master Zhao laughed. "Mister, if I've guessed correctly, you should also be related to the Xianyuan Mound. Those two girls should be the guests from the Xianyuan Mound, right?" Qin Wushuang's face sank. "How did you know?" This is all Sect Master Zhu's speculation. Qin Wushuang waved his hand and pretended to be impatient. "I am not interested in these things. I only want to know, when is the 9 Palace plan to deal with the Stargaze Palace?" However, young Master Zhao said with a troubled tone, "At least we must wait until my grandfather's injuries have healed. Or it could be in 2 years when we are exploring the endless Eastern Sea." Qin Wushuang kept sneering. "I see, very good. Young Master Zhao, what is your name?" "I am Zhao Rui." "Wise Rui." "Zhao Rui." Qin Wushuang revealed a trace of ridicule. "I can see that your parents had high expectations for you when they gave you this name. Unfortunately, it seems that you did not develop in the direction they expected." Zhao Rui was confused. "What do you mean?" Qin Wushuang only smiled and did not speak. He was mocking Zhao Rui for being a brainless person despite having the word Rue in his name. For a time, this Zhao Rue did not understand. Qin Wushuang continued to seal Zhao Rue and threw him into the storage pouch. Just when Qin Wushuang was about to get up, suddenly, that white sable scuttled out from the bushes in fear. It chirped next to Qin Wushuang's ear. Qin Wushuang's expression changed as he shouted lightly, "Since you are here, don't hide." G-age, roar, roar, ha-ha. Accompanied by 3 waves of strange laughter, 3 figures scuttled out from the outside. They formed a triangle shape and surrounded Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang glanced around lightly. In fact, these 3 people had a strange appearance. Each of them wore a strange vest and exposed their muscular arms. Strange patterns were painted on their faces, and the hat on the top of their head all had 3 peacock plumes stuck in it. Are they humans? Inwardly, Qin Wushuang felt strange. These 3 people all held a 3-pronged steel fork. Their strange appearance made Qin Wushuang feel that he had never heard of them. "Who are you people?" Qin Wushuang asked in a low voice. He also saw that these 3 people were all at the upper sky realm. However, they did not pose much of a threat to him. Only, the appearance of these people was too strange. It made Qin Wushuang realize that they did not come from an ordinary background. Suddenly, he remembered the records of the dispersed praying mountain. There were 3 major powerhouses in the dispersed praying mountain: the monkey clan of the Monkey King Mountain, the barbarian tribe of the Underground Abyss, and the human clan of the Red Maple Mountain, the deepest part of the dispersed praying mountain. These 3 people had strange appearances. Could they be the barbarian tribe? Qin Wushuang said with a light smile, "You 3, what do you want to do by surrounding me?" One of them laughed and swore in the human language. "You trash from the human countries. Why are you running around instead of looking for the spiritual infant fruits at the Monkey King Mountain?" Qin Wushuang was stunned, as he did not expect these 3 barbarians to speak such words. "Who told you that I came to the Monkey King Mountain to look for the spiritual infant fruits?" Qin Wushuang said lightly. "Besides, it doesn't seem to have anything to do with you 3 whether I look for the spiritual infant fruits or not." That barbarian cried out strangely. "How could it not matter? The more trash you humans have, the more trouble you can cause. The more trouble you cause, the more trouble the Monkey Clan of the Monkey King Mountain will have. The more trouble the Monkey Clan is in, the more advantageous it will be for the barbarian tribe to snatch the holy ivory flower." Qin Wushuang was completely stunned. Holy ivory flower? What was that? Indeed, these 3 were from the barbarian tribe. That barbarian cried out, "Since you trash are not going, then become fertilizer for the barbarian tribe." After he had finished speaking, the other 2 barbarians sneered and roared together. Then, they charged at Qin Wushuang. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 335. Currently, Qin Wushuang's strength was completely different than before his solitary training. Like a gentle breeze, his body flashed lightly and floated into the middle of the air. He poked 3 times with the tip of his finger, and the solid sword stage of the coagulated sword left his hand. It turned into 3 waves of sword lights and shot at the 3 barbarians. These 3 barbarians did not expect that Qin Wushuang had such miraculous skill to be able to shoot out sword lights from his fingertip. With a strange cry, they dodged quickly. With a shake of his hand, 3 steel forks shot out from his hand. Like a giant roaring python, they shot towards Qin Wushuang in the air with imposing manner. Qin Wushuang turned around in the air and flicked his hand. With a whooshing sound, the snake-shaped soft whip wrapped around one of the steel forks. Just when he was about to throw it back, he realized that like a slippery fish, this steel fork slipped past his soft whip and scuttled to the other side. The 3 steel forks danced in the air and formed a steel fork dancing formation. When a steel fork flew out from the hand of the first, it was caught by the second. When the steel fork of the second flew out, it was caught by the third. In this cycle, the speed became faster and faster. And as if magic had been cast on that steel fork, Qin Wushuang did not succeed even once when he tried to use the snake-shaped soft whip to restrain it. Qin Wushuang was greatly shocked. He knew that these barbarians must have practiced this kind of attack formation for a long time, and it was a very practical method. At the moment, he did not panic. He had many ways to kill these 3 barbarians. Only, firstly, he did not know if these 3 barbarians had friends. Secondly, this time, he did not want to make more enemies. Immediately, he shouted, "You 3, although your steel fork formation is good, it's not enough to kill me. If you don't stop, I will not hold back." The barbarian tribe was the overlord of the dispersed praying mountain. They had always been wild and unreasonable. Compared to the monkey clan and the human race, the barbarian tribe was the most unreasonable and the most tyrannical. Hearing the words of Qin Wushuang, these 3 barbarians felt the greatest humiliation. All of them shouted, and not only did they not stop, they attacked even more fiercely. "Stupid human, you are destined to be the fertilizer for the barbarian tribe. Die." The 3 barbarians suddenly grabbed their pitchforks and jumped up. Like 3 cannons, they charged at full speed towards Qin Wushuang. 3 silhouettes from 3 different directions had actually sealed off all of Qin Wushuang's paths. The barbarians' bodies were very flexible. With a twist of their bodies and a spring of their bodies, they were like meatballs that could shrink at will. They could borrow strength from the tree trunk at will. In this way, the mobility of these 3 savages in the air immediately made Qin Wushuang feel a trace of pressure. His body sank, and he began to descend. This barbarian has a one-track mind and is completely unreasonable. If I blindly give in, not only will I be looked down upon by them, but I will also accidentally fall into their trap. It will not be good. When Qin Wushuang thought of this, he grabbed the violet sun sword with one hand and a flexible whip in the other. After landing on the ground, he focused on attacking the 3 barbarians with all his might. This multitasking technique naturally shocked the barbarians. Qin Wushuang used the immortal Lingyun steps and attacked one of the barbarians with all his might. As for the other 2 barbarians, he used the strategy of using footwork to dodge. In this way, under Qin Wushuang's powerful attacks, the situation of 3 against 1 suddenly became like 2 against 1 for Qin Wushuang. Multitasking allowed Qin Wushuang to have 3 heads and 6 arms. The barbarian that was attacked by him screamed again and again, but he was battered and exhausted. At this moment, Qin Wushuang once again felt a surge in his dantian. Once again, his dantian gave out a warning. This was the second sign of a breakthrough. If this kind of warning sign appeared 3 times in a row, it meant that a breakthrough was in front of him. At this moment, the best choice was to find a good place to hide, calm down, and straighten out the spiritual energy surge that appeared at the moment of the breakthrough. At the moment of a breakthrough, the surge of spiritual power would be very violent, like a river breaking through a dam. If it was not properly guided, once this surge of spiritual power went out of control, it would be very dangerous. If the spiritual power rushed out of the dantian and flowed into the meridians of the whole body, it would be 100% the result of qi deviation. When Qin Wushuang thought of this, how could he still have the mood to fight with the 3 barbarians? He twisted his feet and rushed forward. When the 3 barbarians saw Qin Wushuang's posture, they immediately understood his intentions. They called out to each other and prepared to attack Qin Wushuang together. These 3 barbarians were so fierce that they did not even allow Qin Wushuang to escape. When Qin Wushuang saw their posture, he was burning with anger and shouted, "You are going too far. Do you really think I won't kill?" He waved the violet sun sword and casually swung it. It was empty, like a cool breeze floating out. But when this sword qi left the sword, its aura suddenly increased greatly and rushed forward. Qin Wushuang's sword aura also changed. It was as if a moment ago it was cloudless, and the next moment it became a storm. The sword aura did not stop, constantly stabbing towards the closest barbarian. This wave of attack was as fast as lightning and as fierce as the tide. The barbarian at the front was in dire straits. He waved the steel fork in his hand and tried his best to protect himself. Qin Wushuang sneered. His left hand swept out, an array of sword chi shot out from his fingertips. One after another, in coordination with the Violet Sun sword's attack, the sword chi fluttered like a butterfly among flowers. Puchi! A crisp sound of flesh being pierced was heard. Qin Wushuang's young charge sword directly hit the barbarian's chest. Since Qin Wushuang had made up his mind to kill, of course, he would not hesitate. He waved the Violet Sun sword and directly chopped off the barbarian's head. With this, the other two barbarians were instantly scared out of their wits. They let out two strange cries and quickly threw the steel fork in their hands towards Qin Wushuang. They crossed their hands in the middle of their palms and made a very strange gesture. Their expressions were serious, and their mouths were constantly moving as if they were chanting some kind of strange spell. Qin Wushuang was stunned. He did not care what kind of trick they were playing. With a graceful spiritual bow in his hand, he continuously shot two arrows. With two whooshes, the arrows broke through the air. What he wanted was to end the battle quickly. The two barbarians were making some strange movements. Before they could complete a set of movements, they saw two rays of green light attacking them. Their pupils quickly enlarged, and they were about to jump away. That green light suddenly shot out a dazzling brilliance. It was so dazzling that they could not open their eyes. The absolute brilliance swallowed all the space around them and made them feel a strong pressure of death. Puchi! Puchi! Two sounds rang out almost at the same time. Then, the green arrows of the graceful spiritual bow completely hit the two barbarians. With two booming sounds, the brilliance was like a bomb that quickly exploded. As the brilliance faded away, blood and flesh flew everywhere. These two barbarians did not even understand what was going on. Their blood and flesh flew everywhere and turned into minced meat on the ground. The scene was as miserable as it could get. Qin Wushuang glanced around coldly and tidied up the scene. Then, he took back the two green arrows and disappeared from the place at a fast speed. He left the scene with fast footsteps. After running for half a day, he found an extremely hidden cave. Qin Wushuang placed the graceful spiritual bow next to him. As soon as someone barged in, he would pull the graceful spiritual bow and shoot the other party to death without mercy. It was because Qin Wushuang knew that although this solitary training would not take a long time, at most, it would take a day and a night. However, it would be extremely important and no one would be allowed to disturb him. If someone were to disturb him during the breakthrough and cause him to make a mistake in controlling the spiritual qi, the consequences would be unimaginable. Qin Wushuang knew that this time, the signs of a breakthrough had truly appeared, and it would come one after another. Perhaps, tomorrow morning, I will be at the advanced stage. Perhaps. He did not dare to keep thinking about it. That possibility would be terrifying. It was because this time, the environment for his solitary training was extremely dangerous. He did not have any protection. Besides the white sable that was standing guard outside the cave, he did not have a single person to protect him. This time, it was 10 times more dangerous than the time at the Green Jade Mountain. After all, at the Green Jade Mountain, he had 9 of his fellow disciples protecting him. And this time, besides the white sable, he had nothing. Although the white sable was a spiritual beast, its combat power would be negligible when facing any upper sky elite warrior. Thus, this time, the only thing Qin Wushuang could rely on was the graceful spiritual bow next to him. Like an inflated balloon, Qin Wushuang's dantian kept expanding. Currently, the spiritual qi inside his dantian was surging like a river. Although it was surging, it was still in order. Everything was under Qin Wushuang's control. This spiritual qi kept impacting his dantian, and finally, it would cause his dantian to evolve. From there, he would officially enter the advanced stage. And to break through, Qin Wushuang needed to guide these spiritual qi and control them inside his dantian. He would not let them run around and out of his dantian. Through the impacting and pushing of the spiritual chi, his dantian kept expanding at a visible speed. This was the entire dashing process. Once he succeeded, it meant that he had completed the breakthrough and truly entered the advanced stage. Qin Wushuang did not dare to let down his guard. He controlled each impact carefully and did not pursue the speed too much. He knew that despite the dangerous environment of his solitary training, he must not pursue the speed too much during the dashing process. More haste, less speed. The more he pursued the speed, the more likely he would mess things up. Once the spiritual qi surged too much and he could not control his dantian, the situation would go out of control. This was not something Qin Wushuang wanted to encounter. It was also not something any dashing warrior would want to face. After a night, Qin Wushuang's forehead was full of sweat. He felt fortunate that he did not encounter any dangers or accidents during this night. It could be said that the most dangerous night had passed. Although the remaining matters still required a process, in comparison, the possibility of accidents would be much smaller. Now, all the spiritual qi had formed into a wave of familiar warmth and started to roast his dantian. It was making the final choice. In this process, this wave of warmth would push out the impurities from the spiritual qi and form a wave of foul air to shoot out from his dantian. As long as this foul air was completely expelled, it meant that he would bid farewell to the old and welcome the new. He would officially enter the advanced stage. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 336. Whoosh. Qin Wushuang opened his mouth and opened his eyes wide. Suddenly, he spat out a mouthful of foul air. As he spat out this mouthful of foul air, instantly, Qin Wushuang's face was filled with joy. He knew that the advanced stage he had dreamed of had arrived like a dream. At this moment, Qin Wushuang was no longer a middle stage warrior. He no longer needed to linger in the middle stage. Advanced stage. Without a doubt, he had entered the advanced stage directly. Qin Wushuang felt the powerful life force in his dantian and all the changes that had happened inside his body. It was extremely joyful and joyful. Qin Wushuang called out lightly, and that white sable scuttled in from the outside. Overjoyed, it jumped onto Qin Wushuang's shoulder and started to chatter. Apparently, it was also extremely surprised by Qin Wushuang's breakthrough. However, it was even more joyful. Advanced stage. Qin Wushuang's eyes were brimming with tears, as if his eyes were brimming with tears. All of this had come at the right time. Ever since the incident with his teacher, even in his dreams, he had imagined himself entering the advanced stage. He had imagined himself breaking the seal of the purple flame electric beast. He had imagined himself killing his way to the Nine Palace faction with a graceful spiritual bow. He had imagined himself killing Zhao Heng with his own hands and taking his head to avenge his teacher. However, each time he had woken up, he would feel disappointed and frustrated. Again and again, he would experience disappointment and a sense of powerlessness. And now, the scene he had longed for in his dreams had finally appeared. How could he not be overjoyed when it had become a reality? Stay calm. Qin Wushuang inwardly reminded himself. Before I get the spiritual infant fruits, I cannot delay any longer. Bao Bao said that something had happened to the monkey clan, and I must go take a look. If I am late and someone else took the spiritual infant fruits, wouldn't I have wasted my time and wasted everything? When he thought about the barbarian tribe, he also felt anxious. There is no doubt that the three barbarians had provided him with a very clear message. The barbarians wanted to give him some kind of sacred item in the Monkey King Mountain. That sacred item was called the Holy Ivory Flower. Although Qin Wushuang didn't know what the Holy Ivory Flower was, but since the barbarian tribe had mobilized so many people and used human adventurers as bait to attract the attention of the Monkey King Mountain, it must be something special. Otherwise, the barbarian tribe wouldn't have made such a big fuss. I can't let the barbarian tribe make the first move. Qin Wushuang thought to this point and did not hesitate any longer. He quickly moved out and once again rushed towards the Monkey King Mountain. He heard from Bao Bao that the spiritual infant fruits were at the Phoenix Return Mountain. And the Phoenix Return Mountain was the place where the king of the Monkey Clan resided. Thus, Bao Bao said that it was almost impossible to get the spiritual infant fruits unless one could defeat the king of the Monkey Clan. Although that was what he said, Qin Wushuang had no reason to give up. He felt that if he wanted to obtain the spiritual infant fruits, he did not necessarily have to fight with the Monkey King. There were many ways. It all depended on how Qin Wushuang used his brain. Qin Wushuang traveled at a fast speed. Soon, he had returned to the Monkey King Mountain. When he found the direction of the Phoenix Return Mountain, Qin Wushuang quickly rushed up the mountain. What Qin Wushuang did not expect was that in less than 10 days after he had left the Monkey King Mountain, the Monkey King Mountain had undergone such earth-shattering changes. The surrounding vegetation was scorched and withered. Along the way, it was a scene of destruction. All kinds of big trees had fallen to the ground. The scene was extremely messy. It was as if the entire Monkey King Mountain had been ransacked. Especially on the way to the Phoenix Return Mountain, there were traces of battle everywhere. Indeed, the barbarian tribe had started a war with the Monkey Clan. Along the way, there were either the dead bodies of the Monkey Clan or the barbarian tribe. It seemed that this battle was not an ordinary small conflict. The barbarian tribe had killed their way to the headquarters of the Monkey Clan. It was apparent that the barbarian tribe had mobilized a large number of elite troops and were determined to win. Or else, even if there were some small conflicts between powerful powerhouses in the same area, it would not be this tragic with corpses everywhere. After watching for a moment, Qin Wushuang quickly rushed up with concern. The higher he went, the more tragic the scene became. All kinds of horrible scenes made Qin Wushuang feel like vomiting. The battles of the barbarian tribe were extremely brutal. Their battles were not as simple as killing the enemy. After they had killed the enemy, they even had the habit of sucking the marrow out of the corpses. Thus, the number of elite warriors of the Monkey Clan that had died along the way was extremely tragic. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang felt sorrowful as he thought. The killing at this dispersed praying mountain is much more direct and barbaric than the human countries. I wonder, how many people did these barbarian tribes send out? Along the way, Qin Wushuang passed by the barbarian tribe's sentries. However, the training of the barbarian tribe was not as precise as that of humans. Their patrolling relied more on their primitive instincts and their primitive skills. For example, their ability to hide. Despite this fact, Qin Wushuang still encountered a lot of resistance along the way. Fortunately, Qin Wushuang traveled at a fast speed and did not get entangled with the barbarian tribe. After walking for an hour, Qin Wushuang finally saw the core area of the Monkey Clan. The monkey race was different from humans. They didn't have any majestic palaces, nor did they have any residences. Instead, they lived in a gigantic cave. The cave was filled with layers and layers of rocks, forming a majestic stone forest. This was the core region of the monkey race's holy land. Currently, the area before the stone forest was completely occupied by the barbarian tribe. As soon as Qin Wushuang arrived, a group of barbarians rushed up and stopped him. "Stupid human, how did you get up here?" At this moment, a few sharp whistling sounds emerged from behind the stone forest. A group of barbarians kept scuttling out as if they were chasing after something. They kept yelling in an incomprehensible language. Qin Wushuang was out of his wits. He did not expect that the entire Phoenix Return Mountain had been occupied by the barbarian tribe. As for these savages, they were all at the middle spirit level, and this was the minimum. Some of them were even at the advanced stage. "Catch that little gold ape. Whoever catches it will be heavily rewarded," one of the leaders of the barbarian tribe shouted. At this moment, Qin Wushuang suddenly moved his feet, and something seemed to be wiggling in his pants. Qin Wushuang looked down, and it was Bao Bao. Apparently, those barbarians had also seen Bao Bao as they all rushed over. Qin Wushuang put Bao Bao on his shoulder and jumped back a dozen steps. He waved the snake-shaped soft whip and drew a circle to block those barbarians. Hold on. That leader of the barbarians sized Qin Wushuang from head to toe. Qin Wushuang was calm and collected. He could see that among these barbarians, none of them were at the perfect stage. At least, none of them were the perfect stage. Thus, Qin Wushuang knew that he could deal with these people. Are you a human from the Red Maple Mountain? May I ask your surname? That barbarian spoke with his wrinkled human language. Qin Wushuang shook his head and said no. Xian Yuan Mound? The expression of that leader of the barbarians changed slightly. Qin Wushuang was also unwilling to lie as he laughed. Why are you asking so many questions? Bao Bao stood on Qin Wushuang's shoulder and said something to Qin Wushuang in the beast language with an excited expression. After Qin Wushuang had finished listening, the expression on his face changed slightly. Today, 3 tribal chiefs at the perfect stage had come to the barbarian tribe. Currently, these 3 perfect stage warriors were attacking the Silver Monkey King of the Monkey Clan. The Silver Monkey King was the king of the Monkey Clan and the strongest warrior of the Monkey Clan. He had already reached the peak of the perfect stage and could break into the Void Martial stage at any moment. At the dispersed Praying Mountain, the Silver Monkey King was unquestionably the #1 warrior. Even the strongest tribal chief of the barbarian tribe could not fight against the Silver Monkey King one-on-one. Initially, the Monkey Clan also had a few elite warriors. However, these elite warriors had gone to a holy place in the Xian Yuan Mound to participate in the great sacrifice of the Beast Clan. Thus, they were not at the Monkey King Mountain. This also caused the core strength of the Monkey King Mountain to appear empty. With the power of the Silver Monkey King, of course, he could only resist a few perfect stage warriors. To the other advanced stage warriors of the barbarian tribe, he could not divert his attention to deal with them. This also caused these bloodthirsty barbarian warriors to start a massacre at the Monkey King Mountain. Qin Wushuang gave a long sigh inwardly. Initially, he wanted to sell a piece of information to the Monkey Clan and tell them that the barbarian tribe is after their holy object. It seems that this information is no longer useful. Bao Bao urged him in beast language. Human, cover me to the back of the mountain. I will tell you where the spiritual infant fruits are. Qin Wushuang asked, how do we get to the back of the mountain? Go around this stone forest and head to the other side. That will be the back of the mountain. After receiving Bao Bao's instructions, Qin Wushuang observed the surrounding for a moment. Inwardly, he smiled bitterly. It was not easy to get to this back of the mountain. At least a dozen elite warriors of the barbarian tribe had occupied this area. It would be extremely difficult to break through from any direction. Just those 5 or 6 advanced stage warriors were enough to make most of the human elite warriors retreat. However, up to this point, making this deal with Bao Bao should be his only choice. Qin Wushuang shot a few glances and had an idea. He opened his mouth. Everyone of the barbarian tribe, I came here to take the spiritual infant fruits. I hold no grudge with you. Please make way for us. As Qin Wushuang spoke, he grabbed with his hand and revealed the graceful spiritual bow. Qin Wushuang intended to establish his authority as he initiated his spiritual qi. Immediately, the graceful spiritual bow shone with light and appeared extremely enchanting like a bright pearl in the boundless Milky Way. Everyone, when I draw this bow, even elite warriors at the perfect stage will be killed. If you don't believe me, you can come and try the power of this bow. These people of the barbarian tribe were not ignorant. When they saw the powerful power of the graceful spiritual bow, they were already intimidated by its temperament. Qin Wushuang gave a cold sneer. Just when he was about to move forward, suddenly, Bao Bao said in beast language, "Cute human, please restrain your thoughts and close your eyes. I will take you to the back of the mountain." Before Qin Wushuang understood what was going on, suddenly, the ground beneath his feet sank. Next, his vision darkened as if he had entered an endless underground world. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Only now did Qin Wushuang realize that he was moving under the ground when he heard the sound of the earth moving. In a moment, with a rumbling sound from the ground, Qin Wushuang and Bao Bao broke through the earth. They were already at the edge of the cliff. Overjoyed, Bao Bao kissed Qin Wushuang's ear with his furry little mouth. With a creak, he scuttled out. "Hey, Bao Bao, wait for me." Qin Wushuang realized that they were most likely at the back of the mountain. However, Bao Bao had not fulfilled his promise yet. The spiritual infant fruits. Qin Wushuang wanted the spiritual infant fruits. Today's 4 chapters have ended. Tomorrow's 4 chapters will continue. Then, there will be 3 consecutive days. Please log into the starting point and vote for Xinghe. To be continued, if you want to know the future, please log in to www.qijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 337. Qin Wushuang had used the graceful spiritual bow to intimidate the barbarian tribe. And Bao Bao also used this moment when the barbarian tribe was distracted to perform his best drilling technique and successfully escape to the back mountain. Initially, the barbarian tribe was also known as the Deep Abyss Barbarian Tribe. Thus, a moment ago, Bao Bao had been chased by these elite warriors of the barbarian tribe and could not reach the back mountain. And now, these barbarian tribe members were intimidated by the temperament of Qin Wushuang's graceful spiritual bow. For a time, they could not react. Bao Bao took advantage of this gap and quickly drilled into the ground. Finally, he was the first to escape from the barbarian tribe's attack range. After running a few steps, Bao Bao remembered Qin Wushuang. He turned around and chirped. "Human friend, you are a rare person with such courage and insight. After we beat back the elite warriors of the barbarian tribe, I will come and help you get the spiritual infant fruits." Qin Wushuang said urgently. "Where are you going in such a hurry?" Bao Bao said urgently. "The Silver Monkey King is fighting with the leader of the barbarian tribe at the cliff. I must go take a look. All the elite warriors of the Monkey King Mountain are not here. I am worried that the Silver Monkey King cannot stop them alone." However, Qin Wushuang said, "You are going? Will you be able to help?" Hearing Qin Wushuang's words, Bao Bao also felt somewhat depressed. He knew that, after all, he was still young and did not have enough strength. At least, it was too early for him to deal with those vicious barbarian chieftains. However, at the current Monkey King Mountain, there were no elite warriors. Normal elite warriors were all pinned down by the barbarian tribe and could not come to help. Besides, even if they did come, they would be too far away. However, Qin Wushuang asked, "Along the way, I heard that the barbarian tribe wanted to steal some holy ivory flower from your Monkey King Mountain. What is that?" Bao Bao was surprised. "You heard it?" "Yes, Bao Bao. If you trust me, then tell me what the holy ivory flower is. What is its use? Perhaps I can help you think of a way." Qin Wushuang's tone was full of sincerity. He wasn't interested in the holy ivory flower. All he wanted was the spiritual infant fruit. Bao Bao did not hesitate. Apparently, he also had a favorable impression of Qin Wushuang, this human. He said, "The holy ivory flower is the most mysterious and holy flower of the Monkey King Mountain. Whoever can swallow the holy ivory flower, of course, their strength will increase by leaps and bounds. They will also be able to copy countless ancient secret techniques and divine skills in their mind. For example, I am an advanced stage spiritual beast. Once I consume it, I will enter the perfect stage immediately. And from now on, his cultivation would progress very quickly." Even across the entire Xianyuan Mound, this holy ivory flower was rare. This thing could only appear once every 10,000 years. Our Monkey King Mountain has always kept this a secret, but I don't know how the barbarian tribe found out about it. Qin Wushuang sighed and said, "There is no such thing as an airtight wall in the world." Bao Bao also said angrily, "When the elite warriors of the Monkey Clan return, we will make the barbarian tribe pay the price." Bao Bao grumbled and urged, "Cute human friend, Do you have a way or not? I can make the decision to give you the spiritual infant fruits you want. You can make the decision? Qin Wushuang blinked his eyes. Bao Bao smiled slyly. You are truly a foreigner. At the dispersed praying mountain, everyone knows that I, the golden-haired monkey Bao, am the next Monkey King. They said that my talent is 10 times better than the Silver Monkey King. Historically, the golden-haired monkey had appeared 3 or 4 times in the monkey clan. In the end, they all achieved the Tao of the divine martial force. Tao of the divine martial force? Inwardly, Qin Wushuang's heart thumped. This was a stage he had never heard of. Could there be a Tao of the divine martial force above the void martial force? However, he also knew that none of this was related to the current situation. After a moment of thinking, Qin Wushuang said in a low voice, Bao Bao, I have a way to settle this dispute. What way? Bao Bao immediately asked. It's simple. The barbarian tribe came for that holy ivory flower. If the holy ivory flower is gone, they will have no target. Without a target, would they still need to keep fighting? Bao Bao was astonished. Without the holy ivory flower? What do you mean? Qin Wushuang encouraged him further. Bao Bao, since you are the next Monkey King of the Monkey Clan, then it should not be a waste for you to swallow this holy ivory flower, right? Bao Bao rolled his eyes and said with a stutter, However, without the approval of the Silver Monkey King, without the ruling of all the elders of the Monkey Clan, I am afraid it's not good for me to swallow it for no reason, right? Qin Wushuang laughed. I will only ask you, has the holy ivory flower ripened yet? It should be in these few days. Perhaps it has ripened. Because of this, the barbarian tribe is calculating the time. Darn it, I don't know how the news got out. Qin Wushuang waved his hand. Don't think about how the news got out. Now, to save your Monkey King Mountain from this calamity, there is only one way. That is to swallow the holy ivory flower and make the barbarian tribe give up completely. Bao Bao was hesitant, and inwardly he was also thinking. Qin Wushuang encouraged him. Bao Bao, for each moment you hesitate, the calamity of the Monkey Clan will be prolonged. Since you're the next Monkey King, you should show some courage. Besides, you are swallowing the holy ivory flower to save the entire clan, and not to give up on yourself. You go and swallow the holy ivory flower. I will cover you. Then, use your voice to tell them that the holy ivory flower was swallowed by the heir of the Monkey Clan. When the Silver Monkey King hears this, he will surely react. I believe that at that time, he will agree with your actions. Bao Bao nodded. This is the only way. Human friend. No, I remember you are called Wushuang, right? If you can cover me, I promise that I will give you the spiritual infant fruits. Qin Wushuang was overjoyed at this turn of events. Great, this is a happy ending. Bao Bao said, Follow me. Bao Bao did not dig into the ground, but ran at a fast speed. Qin Wushuang followed behind him. After a few turns, he saw that halfway up the slope, the 3 barbarian chieftains were beating a Monkey King whose entire body was shining with silver lights. This Monkey King appeared majestic from head to toe. His body was much bigger than ordinary Monkey Clan members, and each of the 3 barbarian chieftains had their own unique characteristics. Each of them held a weapon and used the barbarian tribe's most proficient method to surround the Silver Monkey King. The battle between these 4 elite warriors was extremely ferocious. On that side of the slope, almost not a single blade of grass could stand upright. All of them had fallen to the ground under their strong wind. The entire slope was full of potholes as if it had been bombarded by countless cannonballs. It was extremely tragic. No wonder the Silver Monkey King was at the peak of the perfect stage. He waved the long stick in his hand a few times and dissolved all the attacks from the 3 barbarian chieftains. From this situation, although the Silver Monkey King was struggling, he should be able to hold on for a short time. Qin Wushuang asked Bao Bao, Where is the holy ivory flower? Bao Bao said, On the top of that slope, there is a cliff. It's inside the crack of that cliff. Qin Wushuang said, Okay, you go. I will cover you. Bao Bao said, Let's go through the ground. Qin Wushuang stopped him. Don't go through the ground. Before the perfect stage, any random attack from them could cut off the ley lines and make you unable to pass. Let's go through that slope. Bao nodded. Okay. Qin Wushuang said, let's go. One human and one beast, two figures dashed to the bottom of that slope. The Silver Monkey King saw Bao from the corner of his eyes and shouted, Bao, what are you doing here? Bao cried out. Monkey King, the elders that went to the Xian Yuan Mound to participate in the sacrificial ceremony have returned. They already have the situation under control outside. Bao's words made Qin Wushuang overjoyed. It seemed that Bao had a quick reaction. He shouted in a low voice, go. Bao dashed forward at a fast speed and was about to pass through. One of the barbarian chieftains that used a blade gave a loud shout and turned around to attack. Chi! With a miserable sound of blade light, it slashed onto the slope. Instantly, a long gully appeared on that slope. It blocked Bao. Qin Wushuang shouted, friends of the barbarian tribe, whoever tries to stop Bao, I will shoot at them without hesitation. Qin Wushuang initiated his temperament, and the graceful spiritual Bao shone brightly. The awe-inspiring Bao and arrow emitted a powerful presence and started to lock onto the target from afar. The intimidating power of this graceful spiritual Bao was extremely powerful. Although it was a few dozen meters away, it made the three chieftains of the barbarian tribe feel as if there was a blade at their back when he pointed at it. That barbarian chieftain that used a blade sneered. Threatening our barbarian chieftain? This stupid human. When did he become an accomplice of the Monkey King Mountain? After he had finished speaking, he waved his giant blade and sent out two blade attacks. These two blade attacks were like two waves of fierce wind that swept over at a rapid speed. Qin Wushuang shouted, watch the arrow. He initiated with all his strength, and instantly, the graceful spiritual Bao was like a full moon. The jade-green arrow shot out with a loud rumble. Like a verdant dragon, it tore apart the sky and roared out. Roar! As soon as this arrow shot out, with a flash of green light, a dazzling light erupted. That barbarian chieftain that used a blade was astonished as his pupils were filled with a wave of powerful green light. Inwardly, Qin Wushuang was also pleasantly surprised when he shot out this arrow. He could clearly feel that the power of this arrow had increased by almost 2 times. Indeed, the advanced stage had greatly boosted the graceful spiritual Bao. Danger! The barbarian tribe's chief didn't even think about it. He threw his broadsword away, and with a gust of wind, it turned into a shield and rushed forward, colliding with the green light that was shot out by the green arrow. And this barbarian chieftain jumped at a high speed and swept to the side. The instant Qin Wushuang shouted, watch the arrow, Bao had already understood tacitly. He rushed forward and dashed up the slope. Qin Wushuang also borrowed the momentum and jumped up. He scuttled up the slope and occupied the high ground. Still holding the graceful spiritual Bao in his hand, he locked onto the battle from afar. Bao go! Bao did not dare to linger as he dashed directly to the top of the slope. Qin Wushuang shouted, whoever dares to come up, I will let you guys experience the taste of my continuous arrows. Instantly, this threat had intimidated those 3 barbarian chieftains. And now, Bao had scuttled to the top of the mountain. Qin Wushuang shouted, Silver Monkey King, I am letting Bao swallow the holy ivory flower to save this calamity. You don't mind, right? When the Silver Monkey King heard his words, he paused inwardly and immediately understood the profound theory here. He laughed. Wonderful, wonderful. Initially, this holy ivory flower was prepared for the next king of the Monkey King Mountain. On the other hand, the 3 barbarian chieftains were both shocked and furious. If Bao had swallowed the holy ivory flower, wouldn't they have wasted their efforts? Instead, they would have completely offended the Monkey Clan. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please log on to www.chijian.com. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 338. When they thought here, the three barbarian tribal chiefs threw a glance at each other. They planned to leave the Silver Monkey King behind and chase after Bao Bao. The Silver Monkey King gave a strange laugh and waved a long stick in his hand in the air. He slashed 3 times, and instantly, tens and thousands of stick shadows bloomed in the sky. Each of the shadows carried a biting cold presence as they smashed towards those 3 people. When these 4 people were fighting, it was not easy to separate them. Of course, it would not be easy for the Silver Monkey King to get rid of these 3 barbarian tribal chiefs. However, it would also not be easy for these 3 barbarian tribal chiefs to get rid of the Silver Monkey King. Qin Wushuang said with a cold sneer, "You 3, if you want to try the power of my divine arrow, then come. I promise I will not disappoint you." The Silver Monkey King laughed and said in human language, "Human friend, thank you." Qin Wushuang laughed. "Monkey King, let one out and I will shoot him back. You can use this chance to finish them off with your weapon." The Silver Monkey King responded, "As long as your divine arrow can make them tired, I promise to shoot them to death one by one." Qin Wushuang said, "Monkey King, I do not hold any grudges with the barbarian tribe and do not want to kill them easily. However, if they insist on doing things their own way, I would not mind shooting again." A moment ago, that tribal chief with the blade had experienced the power of Qin Wushuang's divine arrow. After being hit by the divine arrow, his weapon was completely useless. It was destroyed beyond recognition and had become a piece of scrap metal. It no longer had the shape of a blade. Thus, when he heard Qin Wushuang's threat, he also restrained his fear of the graceful spiritual bow in Qin Wushuang's hand. The Silver Monkey King used the trace of hesitation in their hearts to raise the long stick and attack even more fiercely. With the stick in his hand, he kept throwing out waves of shocking attacks. With the Silver Monkey King's tall figure, once he used the long stick, he was like a fish in the water. Each time the stick came down, those 3 barbarian tribal chiefs felt their blood boil. Instantly, one of the barbarian tribal chiefs cried out, "Everyone, don't think about that little monkey. Use all your power to deal with this Silver Monkey King. Okay, kill the old monkey first, then the little monkey." They spoke the language of the barbarian tribe, which Qin Wushuang could not understand. However, the Silver Monkey King understood and sneered, "Not a bad idea, but just the 3 of you are not enough." As it spoke, the Silver Monkey King's body flashed with a silver light. Its body suddenly expanded a lot. All the hair on its body stood up like silver needles, emitting a silver light. Once the Silver Monkey King grew in size, its staff techniques suddenly became fierce. The long staff in its hand swelled up in the wind, and every time it swung out, the hillside would shake as if there was an earthquake. Qin Wushuang was standing halfway up the slope, watching the battle. His heart was shaken, his spirit was galloping, he was endlessly shocked. It was his first time witnessing a battle of this level. To put it bluntly, Zhao Heng's strength was at most at the level of one of the barbarian chieftains, or even slightly inferior. Even so, the 3 barbarian chieftains were still struggling under the powerful attacks of the Silver Monkey King after its transformation. Just as Qin Wushuang was watching seriously, a violent sound suddenly came from behind him. Then, a violent tremor came from under his feet. The frequency of the tremor, from the initial slight tremor, became more and more violent, and then it started shaking at a high speed. Boom! Another violent sound came. When Qin Wushuang turned around to look, he saw a ray of light shooting up to the sky from the back of the mountain. This kind of momentum was like a volcano that had been dormant for thousands of years suddenly erupting, emitting a dazzling light. Then, a scene that shocked everyone happened. The mountain at the top of the mountain seemed to have been sliced by a divine weapon and slowly split into 2 halves. The speed of the splitting was very fast. From the cracks, huge rocks and rocks continuously fell into the cracks. Qin Wushuang was dumbfounded. This majestic mountain actually had a situation of splitting open. This kind of spectacular scene was something that Qin Wushuang had never seen in his previous life. This entire mountain was like a fruit that had been cut open in the middle as it kept splitting open. The three barbarian chieftains were shocked as they mumbled with a nervous expression. The Silver Monkey King said in human language, "Human friend, hurry and leave this hillside, hurry." Qin Wushuang said, "Bao Bao is not out yet." The Silver Monkey King yelled, "Bao Bao will be fine, hurry and leave." There was a trace of urgency in the Silver Monkey King's voice. He waved the long stick and shouted at the three barbarian chieftains, "I will reason with your tribe when I have time. Today is the end." As he spoke, he waved the long stick and forced the three barbarian chieftains to retreat. When Qin Wushuang saw the Silver Monkey King doing this, he also could not move fast. Again, the Silver Monkey King waved the long stick and opened a path for Qin Wushuang. Qin Wushuang's body shot down the slope at a rapid speed. Apparently, those three barbarian chieftains also realized the great change in the heaven and earth. It was not something they could resist with their strength. At the moment, they did not care about anything else and ran away as if there was an evil spirit chasing after them. Just when Qin Wushuang and the others jumped out of this hillside at the same time, the entire hillside, with a rumbling sound, instantly dispersed. Like a jar that had suddenly exploded, stone fragments swirled in the air. This mountain had exploded from the middle. Instantly, the heaven and earth shone brightly as stone fragments danced in the air. The sky was filled with dust and flying stones that rushed out from the mountain. It was a spectacular sight. Qin Wushuang was dumbstruck as if he was watching a fireworks festival. Only the things that were spurting out were not colorful fireworks, but rocks, dust, and magma from the mountain. "Monkey King, where is Bao Bao?" Qin Wushuang asked with a heavy heart. The Silver Monkey King glanced around and saw the three barbarian chieftains on the other side. Immediately, he said in a low voice, "Bao Bao will be fine." But Qin Wushuang looked at the shocking change in front of him. The entire hilltop had completely erupted. Like a gunpowder warehouse exploding, all kinds of things were spurting out one after another. All of this is because Bao Bao swallowed the holy ivory flower. In the tone of the Silver Monkey King, there was a trace of joy and a trace of regret. Swallowing the holy ivory flower has such a powerful aura. Qin Wushuang drew a breath of cold air. The Silver Monkey King laughed. The holy ivory flower is a holy object that only appears once every 10,000 years. Naturally, the aura is incomparably great when it appears. While they were discussing, the eruption of the entire mountain became even more intense. Rumbling, it was as if the heaven and earth could collapse at any time. It was truly a doomsday scene. Suddenly, a surge of air rushed out from the inside. Within the airflow, countless rocks flew out and scattered in all directions. It was a spectacular scene like meteorites falling from the sky. And within this airflow, a golden figure emitting a dazzling golden light soared into the sky. This golden light flashed and instantly turned into tens of thousands of rays of light, dyeing the entire Phoenix Return Mountain into a golden color. "It's Bao Bao." Qin Wushuang was overjoyed. As if everything was within his calculations, the Silver Monkey King nodded with a smile. "Yes, it's Bao Bao. Gold Monkey King. My monkey clan finally has a Gold Monkey King. Huh?" The tone of the Silver Monkey King was filled with joy. This kind of joy was not simply the joy of a new king. It was a type of hope, a type of emotion, a type of belief that had suddenly been realized. Bao Bao continued to rise in the airflow. Suddenly, his body expanded from a meatball into a golden body that was 30 meters tall. He was majestic and magnificent, just like a giant monkey. Compared to the little Bao Bao that Qin Wushuang had seen earlier, his size was more than 1,000 times smaller. Disbelief shot out from the eyes of those three barbarian chieftains. Then, they realized something as their expression changed drastically. "Not good, retreat. The Gold Monkey King is born." Earlier, the three barbarian chieftains were insufferably arrogant as they competed with the Silver Monkey King. However, at this moment, they did not even dare to let out a fart. They only hated their parents for not giving them 2 more legs as they ran down the mountain while covering their heads. The Silver Monkey King gave a long sigh and did not chase after them. In fact, he knew that although the Gold Monkey King was terrifying, Bao Bao had just evolved into the Gold Monkey King and had not unleashed his full power. Most likely, Bao Bao's current combat power was weaker than his Silver Monkey King. Of course, the deterrence of the Gold Monkey King was still there. In the history of the Tianxian land, the power of the Gold Monkey King was almost a legendary existence. Thus, these 3 barbarian chieftains did not hesitate and immediately ran away. Before the legendary Gold Monkey King, they did not have any thoughts of luck. The Silver Monkey King shouted, "Bao Bao, control your state of mind, don't rush anymore." After he had finished speaking, the Silver Monkey King felt a lump in his throat and spat out a mouthful of blood. He panted loudly. Qin Wushuang was shocked as he immediately asked, "Monkey King, are you all right?" The Silver Monkey King gave a long sigh. "Human friend, now you know why those 3 barbarian chieftains did not leave until Bao Bao had evolved into the Gold Monkey King, right?" Qin Wushuang nodded silently. Initially, those 3 barbarian chieftains already knew that the Silver Monkey King was injured. Initially, the Silver Monkey King's transformation was a secret divine skill of the Monkey Clan. Once it was unleashed, it consumed a lot of spiritual qi. It could be said that it was a self-destructive technique. Apparently, those 3 barbarian chieftains knew this point and wanted to stay and take advantage of the situation. And the appearance of the Gold Monkey King had completely destroyed all their hopes of luck. Thus, they fled in panic. In the middle of the air, Bao Bao laughed and twisted his body. Then, he slowly withdrew his divine skill and shrunk his body. He somersaulted in the air and scuttled to the cliff on this side of the mountain path. "Silver Monkey King, I swallowed the holy ivory flower." The Silver Monkey King nodded with gratification. "Good, Bao Bao. You must remember from now on, you're no longer a little gold monkey, but the Gold Monkey King, the king of the Monkey Clan." Bao Bao flickered his tongue. "Silver Monkey King, Bao Bao is still young. I don't want to become a king at such an early age. How about you take care of the Monkey King Mountain first? I will go and gain some experience." Currently, the tone of the Silver Monkey King sounded like a subordinate. "You don't need to worry about the Monkey King Mountain." With the appearance of the Gold Monkey King, the goal of the Monkey Clan should change. Goal? Bao Bao could not understand. Yes, the Monkey Clan should have lived in the Xianyuan Mount. After being exiled to the dispersed Praying Mountain for a few thousand years, it's time for us to return. From the tone of the Silver Monkey King, there was a sense of vicissitudes of life. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.